213 minutes of self-actualized sales training to earn $100,000 a month in commissions in 2026. This is a sneak peek of the weekly live training that I run inside my Unicorn Closer Mastermind, which is the sales mastermind I run that has taken 5 closers, one including myself, to all earning over $100,000 a month in commissions, and we've all been able to accomplish that reality within 17 months or less by learning a way of selling called self-actualized sales that ditches the scripted questions and the fake word tracks and the fake tonality and instead combines sales with self-actualizing, which means actually becoming the best version of yourself. Internal mastery, personal development, spirituality. And when you combine those things into the way that you are selling, earning $100,000 a month in commissions is absolutely a possibility. In fact, we run a mastermind with only 100 people in it. We've only run it for 2 years, and we've already taken 5 closers to earning $100,000 a month in commissions. So now you might be curious, how exactly do you do that? Well, watch this entire training until the very end, and you'll see the way we do call reviews, the way we mentor, the community, the environment, and the questions and answers that take closers to earning $100,000 a month in commissions by learning self-actualized sales. So without any further ado, let's crack in to the training.
All right, folks, what is going on? We are back with our normal scheduled Wednesday training. For everybody that is new, welcome aboard. We'll start off with some wins, and then we'll kick off with our cool reviews. All right, Simon, what's up?
I got on my first offer as of yesterday or 2 days ago.
Fantastic.
And they are throwing me right in. So I'm kind of nervous, but ready to get after it.
There you go. Nerves are normal, but you got to get those reps in.
I got to win.
The underground millionaire.
Yeah, I was going to say that's my win because ever since Cabo and, writing down that kind of affirmation and living that out, I think just going into my sales calls and through my day to day, I feel like I'm on a deeper mission. And even though lead flow is like mega down right now, I am more excited to get on sales calls, not just because of the money I'm going to make, but because I feel like I feel like a superhero when I get onto these sales calls. Like I'm so excited to just jump on and get into the prospect story. And, when you get down to like the signature moment, I kind of imagine like in a superhero movie, like civilian is in some terrible situation. And then you go down as the underground millionaire, as the superhero, and you're going to save this person. So super exciting. And that's my big win, is more of an energetic one.
Huge win. Love that. Sylvie, what's your win?
Yeah, so ever since that post I made and you commented on it, like I had taken some time to think about it. And I had a prospect that I had like frozen up on. And so I had scheduled a follow-up. She's like, I'm not interested, blah, blah, blah. I called her and I'm like, Margarita, that's her name. I was like, you have high blood pressure, like all this stuff. Like I just started telling her, she's like, okay, let me talk to my husband. So she called me yesterday and she's like, I'm gonna do it. And part of me wanted to give up on her. And I just did it because I was like, I know she has to do this for her. And it was putting myself aside and really stepping in for her. That was like such a huge win for me.
That's a great win. Love that. All right, Tyrus, what's your win?
Nice. Yeah, I'm a setter, which I'm not sure if there are many setters here, but I had my best day ever yesterday. I think it was just accumulation of starting a month ago and all the things I'm learning and making 1% improvement every single day. So I had 5 of my deals closed yesterday, which was an all-time best for one day. It was really exciting just to see not just the skill change, but also the person I'm being on these calls through the launch pad and everything like that. I'm only a month through, so I'm really excited for it.
Love that. Awesome. All right, folks, who has the first call to be reviewed? If it is you, share your screen on your end. I'll tell you when to pause and we'll crack into our first call review. All right, there we go.
Good, and you? It's nice to meet you. I'm Sylvie. I am a senior health advisor here with team. How's it going?
Good.
Glad to hear. So I just wanted to let you know up front that this call is being recorded. And I do have you blocked off for about 60 minutes today, but these calls tend to go closer to like the 90-minute mark. I just want to make sure that are you okay on time today?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So
I said, guess what?
And okay. I just wanted to make sure that your phone was placed somewhere because after a while it gets heavy. So
yeah, it is. But I'm just trying to switch your video. But yeah, it's on the table. You see me? It's fine.
I do.
Okay.
So great. So basically what we're going to do today is because we're going to be going through your assessment results and it's a lot of information. So I'm glad that we do have the time for that. So I basically just want to hear the story from you, what's been going on, what you've tried, what's worked, what hasn't. And then I'm going to walk you through your cellular assessment results. And then we'll talk about what the path forward looks like. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I do take about 6 or 7 of these calls every single day. And okay. I'm sorry, do you need a minute to?
I need to go in. Yeah.
Let me know when you're all set.
So one thing, just pause it there. So you're doing a good job of obviously not moving on until she's busy. You don't want to force this, but it would be a possibility that at some point in the call, when you've started to pull out all of the pain of her health situation, that you can tie that back to the fact that she's not the type of lady that has a very simple life. You know, she's eating on a plate, she's got kids, it seems like she's got a busy life. And an additional piece of the pain is how to have these health issues whilst you've also got a busy, stressful, occupied life. Those things collide together and make the whole situation worse. It's very different if someone has a bunch of health issues, but they're a single person, they're living in a really nice house, they've got a chef that's cooking for them, they've got a maid that's cleaning for them. Sure, their health issues are not good and they still want to get rid of them, but it's much worse when everything is hitting you all at the same time. So if it came up in the conversation, everything's bad, I would then say something like, I noticed when we started the call, it looks like you've got a pretty busy life. You've got kids, I noticed you were eating off a plate. How does the fact that you've got all of these health issues that are debilitating you in this way, then connect to the fact that you've got a lot going on? That might be a click moment for her where she's like, oh my God, yeah, if I didn't have these health issues, the rest of my life, which is already very busy and very stressful, would be significantly easier because I have more energy. I have more peace of mind with my body. Does that make sense? So it's just seeing these little data points and thinking, I'm not going to force it, but it might come up later in the conversation because everything with a sales call is contextual. It's so much worse for a person to be in bad health if they've got a hectic life. Okay. All right. Keep going from there.
Do you want me to speed it up?
Yeah. Do it on 1.25 or 1.5. Yeah. 1.25.
Call scheduled earlier and the lady's Wi-Fi went out or something. So then.
My Wi-Fi is definitely not going to go out.
Okay. Yeah, so I had, so I had.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, cool. So I do take 6 or 7 of these calls a day. And what I see more and more, especially with people who are going through what you've been through, is that there's a lot of growing awareness in the health world that conventional treatment doesn't address the cellular environment that created the conditions for the disease in the first place. And they don't repair the damage that those treatments do to the cells that they leave behind. So that's exactly what we focus on here. And that God designed our bodies just with an incredible capacity to heal and regenerate. So I have reviewed the details that you provided in your intake form and also in the assessment, but I wanted to hear it directly from you. What is the biggest challenge that you're currently facing with your health rate?
I have a question. Is this call just determining if I'm a candidate for the cellular blood test that he has online? Or what is the next step?
Oh, yes. So that's a great question. So basically what this call is to review your assessment and the results that you received and to see if you are a fit for Dr. Axe's protocol program. And then if we're aligned from there, we kind of just move forward and
but it would be the program that I see online?
I would assume yes. We'll definitely get into that. But does that answer your question in that regard?
Well, I just didn't know. And then I also listened to his one thing. How do you get him to be like your actual doctor? Like he says he sees thousands of patients virtually, like personally. Like
yeah. So we'll definitely get into that. We can definitely start off with this question of what is the biggest challenge that you're currently facing?
The reason that she's giving you all of this is because your framing was so long and so much additional things that you don't really need to say. So I don't know how often you're getting this from prospects, but I would definitely review this call in your own time after this review and look at your framing and write it out word for word and try and keep it as close to the 4 core pillars as I've given you. But then obviously you might need to add a bit of context in because you're going through the blood assessment, but you want to keep it as simple as possible. Because now this prospect's like, what are we doing on this call? What about this? What about that? Whereas if it's very clear, hey, I've got your blood test results. This call is to first of all go through them. And then based on what we find, depending on what that looks like, we might talk about some different options for you. Does that make sense? Yes. So number 1, shorter. And number 2, more check-in questions. And if she's hesitant at that point, then you don't move on. If she's like, oh, yeah, I guess so. I noticed you're a little bit hesitant there. Any particular reason for that? Well, yeah, I'm curious about this and I'm curious about that. Okay, that makes sense. So just to be clear, this call is not about working one-on-one with Dr. Axe. You know, if that's something you wanted to do, it is in the 6-figure range. If that's true, you can say it. If it's not, don't say it. But you want to kind of push them away from that idea, as in like, stop dreaming, love. Like you're not going to work with him one-on-one. Number 2, you want to make sure that any of those questions that she has, you cut them as quick as possible and then pause again and then roll into your whatever part of the call you're in. So in the intro, your opening question. Okay. So you're doing a decent job of like trying to manhandle her to not go in the wrong direction, but it will be much better if your framing is clearer, is more succinct. Okay. All right. So let's keep going. Let's see if we get into the main part
with your health right now.
Well, I've been through a whole bunch of treatments. I had a lobectomy first, and then 4 rounds of chemo after. And then a few months later, they said it was not clear. And then a few months after that, it was back. So it was never actually gone, you know. Then I started going to an integrative doctor to get like tests done. And then it was, they said the chemo didn't work the first time. So then they needed to think of another plan. There really wasn't another plan. So then they had me try this trial, which was like, they take your cells out and they grow them and your immune system is supposed to like fight it. But it was a really strong whole thing. I had to be in the hospital for 3 weeks, like the bone marrow unit.
Yeah.
Like they wipe your body like clean and then make room for these cells to be put back. And that was, I lost my hair. They give you this IL-2 type of medicine to make you accept these cells. And that it's like really toxic. And then the 3rd dose of that, they said I'm okay to get it. But I said, I don't feel good. And they gave it to me anyway. And then I got really sick for like 3 days. I was like so out of it. I had to get blood transfusions. It was like a rough time. And then I recovered okay. Like I had to stay a 4th week in New York City to monitor me to make sure I accepted the cells. So I had to like stay in like in a hotel nearby. And I was okay after that. And then that was like in July. And then a few months later, they found out that it didn't actually work. But then they didn't know what else for me to try. So my doctor told me to wait another month to see how my scan was, and it still got worse. So then I switched hospitals because she said there's a different hospital has this trial for, I have KRAS G12D. So there was like a blocker trial of just KRAS, the broad. So they had a shorter list at this NYU is when I switched to. And then I was on like a dose escalated trial. So it started at like 80 milligrams and now I'm up to 300 milligrams. So I've been on that for a little over 3 years.
And that's the targeted therapy that you mentioned in the intake form?
Yeah. So now this past August, I have like a bunch of, I used to have one spot, but it was like very inflammatory. Everything about my case is like very unusual, I've been finding. I wasn't a smoker or anything. So I guess they say that's a little harder to treat. And it's multiple spots like throughout both sides, like small spots.
Okay.
On both sides. So I can't like remove any surgery. But the targeted therapy beginning like shrunk it for a while, a little bit, like 30%. And then it was stable. And then I had to go, then I grew a teeny bit, but I increased the dose. And then it's been good. And it's been like slowly becoming like less dense up until, so this past August, that scan, it grew, one spot grew like 2 millimeters. And then they said, oh, it's probably, just wait. So then the next scan after that, they grew again, like multiple spots grew. And then I just had another one. No, maybe that, yeah. And then I had a biopsy.
Okay. When was the most recent scan?
Like a week and a half, recently, like 2 weeks. And one spot, which he doesn't even know is cancer, he says it was stable. One spot supposedly shrunk, but that's the one he doesn't know that was cancer. And the other ones grew like small, like millimeters, a couple millimeters. So they're like not, so then we had a biopsy to see if my strain changed. And
Did you receive the biopsy results?
Yeah, it took like almost 2 months because something with my insurance, but I just recently got them back. And it's, they said like my tumor is 21% this KRAS. And then it was 11% of this pick something else. I have the document, but it is 11% of something else. And there was a few other things, but then they looked back and that other thing was always present, that 11%, but it wasn't much of a percentage. So now the percentage of that one is increasing.
Okay. And you were initially diagnosed 5 years ago. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And now, so it's been 3 years that you've been on this targeted therapy and it's starting to lose its effectiveness. That's a very specific, is there?
Okay. So let's recap this. So 2 different sides of this. First one, let's go to what Pete said in the comments. So Pete said,
I said, wow, that's a lot. That must be exhausting.
Wow, that sounds a lot. It must be exhausting. It's a pretty good recap because we're recapping the emotion, the energy, the sentiment of what's going on. But it's not quite specific enough. I didn't get the feeling like the most specific thing that was coming out of her talking was exhaustion. I did get something else. Any idea what it was? Pete?
No, I don't know.
No worries. What I felt, what's that, Sylvie?
I don't know. I felt like denial, like she's not really present. I don't know.
Okay, what was she present with?
Just her trying to grasp like all the information.
Bingo.
Just so lost.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you can notice it. And this is the thing, guys. You're all now listening to the recap thinking, okay, I've got option 1 or option 2. Recap the things that she said or recap the emotions. You're still looking at it very like tactical, like strategy 1 or strategy 2. Just forget strategies. Just listen to what someone's saying and the thing will pop into your head, which is most accurate, which is exactly what Sylvie said. And I would have framed it as, you sound very bogged down with all of these specific details. This percentage, this number, this amount of milligrams, this many years, this treatment, this spot here, this thing there. Yes, the emotion could be overwhelm, but that's not what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing is this woman that's going into all of these nitty-gritty details, and that's what I'm noticing. I'm like, you sound like you've got all of these very specific numbers and details and percentages. And then I could say, if I wanted, it sounds pretty overwhelming. Oh yeah, it is overwhelming. But I'm not just saying you said a bunch of stuff and you sound overwhelmed. I'm being very precise about why I came to that conclusion. What I'm hearing is all of these little details. It's like she's overwhelmed with the information and she's so zoomed in with the information on all of these little numbers, percentage here, increase here, number of spots here, number of years on treatment, 80 milligrams to 300 milligrams. I'm like, the thing that's overwhelming me is not just overwhelm, it's the numbers, all of these little details. Does this make sense, guys? Hearing the nuance of what's actually coming up for the prospect. So I would have summarized it with that. The second thing, and I know this sounds maybe too obvious, and there's a reason why a lot of you wouldn't do this on this offer. The obvious thing with the recap, and we start with the biggest pain point, is you've got cancer. Like the fact that you don't say that in the recap is like, well, you're kind of brushing the main point under the carpet here. I know she's just been telling you for 10 minutes she's got cancer, but you have to show her that you heard that and prioritize the things that she just said. So the most important thing that I would summarize back is, so you've got cancer, it's increasing, you're on all of these different treatments, and you've got all of these pieces of information that you're being given from doctor here, doctor there, doctor there. Is that a good recap of what's going on for you in simple terms? Yes. But because you've heard her saying she's got cancer so many times, we think as closers, well, I don't need to say that again because she's just been saying that for 10 minutes. No, you still need to say that again. And then because of the context of the offer, we as closers could feel a bit uncomfortable to just say it point blank. You've got cancer. But you have to be point blank. Because if you're not blunt, the prospect's not going to be blunt looking in the mirror. Even someone can talk for 15 minutes about the fact they've got cancer, but they aren't actually thinking about the fact that they've got cancer. They're just, their mouth is moving and they're saying, I've got cancer here, I've got cancer there, it's growing here, it's got spots here, blah, blah, blah. But they haven't actually just faced the reality of you have got cancer and it is increasing. And you are on medication that's gone from 80 milligrams to 300 milligrams, which is roughly a 5x increase in your medication. You're going through all these different doctors, being given this percentage here, this percentage there. Is this your lived experience right now? Yes. Wow. How are you coping with this? Oh, it's overwhelming, blah, 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 blah. But the next thing will come from a better recap, as opposed to the next question of when did you get diagnosed 5 years ago? Does this make sense, guys? Like, focus on the big thing, which is you've got cancer and it's increasing and you're on treatment that is going up and up and up, yet your cancer is still increasing and you've got overwhelm of information. That's so simplified. Okay. All right, let's keep going.
What goes through your mind when you think about that?
Well, then I went back to the doctor the other day, Wednesday, and he doesn't really have money. Also, so 2 years ago from right now, I went to Hope for Cancer in Mexico.
Okay.
I hope, because the thing I was on was like blocking it. So I was hoping that the Mexico would help me like get rid of it. And it didn't. It taught me like different detox things, and it did because I also went to an integrative doctor before, like when I came back, I went to somebody, but then I had to stop because the trial, whatever he was having me do, I couldn't do because that trial was so aggressive. So I didn't do the things that he was having.
So 2 years ago, you went to Hope for Cancer in Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay. So you went, that was 2 years ago. And then after that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you started working with an integrative medicine?
No, before that, actually. Okay. Before I started that intense trial, like before a year after my initial diagnosis, I went to the doctor, but a local doctor here. And he had me on a bunch of supplements and things. And he was doing some other stuff, but the stuff was going to interfere with this trial that wiped my body clean. So I couldn't really do his things.
Okay.
So I didn't do that. And then instead of going back to that guy, I decided.
Okay, pause again.
After.
So it's one of those fine lines where you've got to listen to the prospect, but we also have to be orchestrating the conversation. She's going off in tangents that they might be relevant later on in a call, but not at this point in the call. At this point in the call, we need to focus on the pain and the problem. Someone's saying they have cancer, guys. I know that's like the biggest thing that someone can have health-wise, or arguably, but you still don't know what that means for this person. Okay, you've got cancer. You've had cancer for 5 years. What symptoms are you experiencing? Like, let's start there. Well, I've got no energy. I've got brain fog. I can't think. I've had to take days off work. We've got to start there. We can't just start with, okay, you've got cancer. What treatments have you tried? We've got to actually elicit all of the pain points. Because I know it sounds weird, guys, but if someone has cancer but they have no symptoms, the only reason that they would buy from you is if they are living in anxiety of, I'm just going to die one day because of my cancer. And I need to know which one of those two conversations I'm about to have. Am I having a conversation that you need to remove your cancer because you're symptomatic? Or am I having a conversation that you need to remove your cancer because you have no symptoms, but you just think you're going to die? Those are two very different conversations. You're either suffering from the cancer, and I'm going to pull that out in the pain and see if you want to not live like that, or you're suffering in your head that, you know, you're worried that you're just going to die. They are totally different conversations. How I know which one of those conversations to go down without starting the call on, okay, so you've got cancer, you got diagnosed 5 years ago, you're on this medication that's gone from 80 milligrams to 300 milligrams, and you're going back and forth between all of these doctors. As far as your cancer, what is going on in terms of how it's affecting you right now? Oh, it's not affecting me at all. Interesting. Okay. You know, I understand that having cancer in and of itself is a terrible thing, can be concerning. Given that you're not symptomatic, why, if you are you struggling with this? Oh, well, it's because I'm worried I'm going to die every day. Okay, what thoughts go through your head? Well, I've got a child. I don't want to leave them alone. Now I'm actually going to have the conversation take me where I need it to take me, which is about her children and her family and whatever. You have to find out where you're going, and the only way you do that is zoom in on what is going on right now. Not what treatments are you trying, but you have cancer. What's going on? Symptomatic, not symptomatic. Does this make sense? Okay. All right. Keep going from there.
So the pill I knew was working. I said, now let me try to get rid of this. And, you know, but in Mexico, I wouldn't recommend that place. So most of the people I went with were like, a lot of them didn't make it. Like on my text, like our group, you know, a lot of them didn't do well it wasn't any kind of miracle cure. And then
how long were you, I'm assuming that you stayed in Mexico for this treatment and they had you in-house?
For 3 weeks. I was in it was in Cancun, and you go there every day except for the week Sunday, I think. Yeah, so you do but it was mainly when you detox. I did a lot of light therapy and things, and going home they give you an ultrasound machine, a light watch. It's actually this. I still do all this stuff like this watch, and it has lights. And then I breathe in an oxygen inhalator.
Okay.
At night for 4 hours. I bought this sauna, but they called it hypothermia, so it gets your body internally 707 degrees.
Okay.
To breast cancer, so I do that. I still do all this stuff and then I'm in an ultrasound machine that you use on the spots, but I just don't know exactly what's actually working from there or not. But I'm nervous to stop it because what if it's doing a little bit? I don't know.
Yeah, because you're doing so much right now. I mean, the whole food plant-based diet that I saw, the serious supplement stack that you have, pectosol, turkey tail, peptides, methylene blue, the watch, you've clearly done your homework. And yet it's still growing. What does it feel to be doing all of that and still continue getting these results that you're going the wrong direction?
Well, pause again.
Know that it's something.
Do you see what I'm saying? That you're not orchestrating the conversation to start with the pain points, what's actually going on, as opposed to what is her emotions about the fact that she's trying all of these things. I still don't know if she's suffering because of cancer. It's so glaringly obvious of well, that's kind of important to know. Are you wearing a wig? Do you have energy issues? Do you have libido issues? Are you still working? What's actually I know it sounds crazy, guys, but you got cancer, so what? I know that sounds crazy, guys, but does it actually matter? Or has she just got cancer in her body and she's totally fine? Without knowing that, you're just assuming too much, which is why you won't have the ability to think up the next question, because you've just assumed person has cancer, cancer is terrible, I'm going to sell her a solution to cancer. You've jumped over having the real conversation with this person about what's your lived experience of having cancer. You have to get in the prospect's shoes and have that conversation. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's see if we get into actually if and how this is affecting her.
Internal. So, and then I went back. So right recently, after the doctor didn't know what to offer me, he wanted me to go back to the guy who wiped my body clean and try something else.
In fact, pause it again.
And I'm I don't want to.
Let me share all of this with you. I've drawn this before. It was a long time ago, so probably worth doing a recap. The reason this is so important, guys, there's something in science. It's probably going to look something like that. Something in science called the golden ratio. And the golden ratio is a pattern, a mathematical pattern that is throughout nature. If any of you've ever seen like a shell, the shell will follow this pattern that looks like that, and it will get smaller and smaller and smaller. That's like a beach shell, okay? And this is a mathematical formula. And a sales call follows something very, very similar, which is the maths of the different sections of a sales call. So let me draw it for you here. So we have that, then we have something like that, then we have something like that, and then something like that, okay? Now, what most people think a sales call looks like is something like this, a straight line. We have the intro, the framing, the opening question, the pain, the turning point, the doubt questions, solution questions, why now, and conclusion. In other words, they think that all of these pieces are the same size. Okay, I have to ask 2 questions here, 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 and this will just be your scripted sheet of paper. Okay, it's not like that. The thing that actually sells someone follows this golden ratio, which is more than 50% or about 50% of the sales call is the problem. Okay, once you've got the problem, then the next bit, which is now 25% of the call, and these are rough numbers, guys, is ownership. In other words, okay, why are you still in this situation? What have you done? Getting them to realize it's their own fault. Then you have something like a turning point, which is now whatever the fuck that is, 12.5%, something like that. Then you have the why us? And I'm missing a few points here, guys. So these are just the basics. And then this one is actually even smaller, which is like that. And you would have the commitment. In other words, you're going to do something right now, how much longer, etc. The point is this, folks. You do not have to do basically anything once you're already at the commitment point, or even at the why us point, or even at the turning point, if you've spent 50% of the sales call pulling out all of the problems, how this actually affects someone. Then you've got to spend a reasonable amount of time, let's call it 25% of the call, actually getting them to realize it's their own fault. They haven't done anything about it. But if what you try and do is ask, one question here, in your opinion, what's the biggest challenge you have right now? I have cancer. Okay, got it. What have you tried? Well, I've tried this. Okay, got it. What was the turning point after 5 years? Okay, why us? You're going way too fast, and you're not spending the right ratio of times in the places that actually make the sale. The place that makes the sale, and it's actually somewhere like 50 to 75% of the discovery, is getting them to tell you why this is such a problem. Okay, so if you imagine this sales call here, someone says, I have cancer. We need to do something in this box here. We need to do something like this. Okay, how's it affecting you here? How's it affecting you here? How's it affecting you here, 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 here? And we've got to get all of this data on how the cancer is actually affecting them. All of the areas of their life, their health, their wealth, their spirituality, their relationships, their social life, their dating life, etc., etc. Once we've got all of the pain, it's very, very easy to get a prospect into ownership. Okay, you've got all of these issues. They've been going on for 5 years. It's lost you money. It's lost you a dating life. It's affecting your kids. It's affecting your relationship with your husband. You're walking around with no energy, no libido, no this, no that, and the other. What have you tried? Okay, so given that it's been 5 years, and you've only tried 3 different treatments, but it's affecting you in all of these ways, why haven't you tried more treatments? But I can only say, why haven't you tried more treatments in the context of how much it's affecting them? If I've only shown that it's affecting them at the level of you have cancer, to then try and put the prospect into ownership, you don't have enough reasons to put them into ownership. In other words, it's not that bad. I just have cancer, but don't have any problems with it. And then now you're trying to push the prospect into ownership. The thing that carries the whole sales call is spending 50 to 70% of the time getting out the details, the specifics, the data, the numbers, the emotions, the experiences, the stories, the examples of how this thing is a problem. Once you've done that, The ownership is very easy. Then the turning point is one fucking question. Was there a signature moment? Yes. Okay, what happened? And they tell you the whole fucking story. You might ask, how did that make you feel? Or one clarifying question, but it's very easy. This is like 2 questions. This might be, let's say, 5 questions. And this is like 10 to 15 questions. Why us is 1 question. Okay, so you've got all of these issues. You've admitted it's your own fault. This is your turning point. Why, if you do you feel like we're the person to help you? 1 question. Well, because blah, blah, blah. Okay, got it. So and then you recap. So you've got all these issues. It's your fault. This was the turning point. You believe that we can help you. How much longer are you going to stay in this position? 1 question. Might have a few tie downs. Okay, why now? If I need to do those extra tie downs. But you get the point, guys. All of your front-loaded questions in the discovery are getting out the problem. Then a few questions about the ownership, and then the last pieces here are just downhill sailing. It's so easy, those final bits. This is the golden ratio. This is how science works. Okay, Sylvie, what's your question?
So, because I know that you were explaining that if we really understand what the problem is, their pain, how it's affecting every single area of their life, and then in that context of like how bad it is, the question of like why haven't you tried more treatments, right? I'm feeling like resistant to that question because, for example, like with this woman that I feel like she has tried so much, and if I were to ask her that, she might get offended. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that because that might be a limiting belief on my end,
Well, number 1, we're focusing on this as the main problem on your discovery. We're not focusing on this as the main problem. The main problem with your discovery right now is that you haven't, that's the wrong pen, is you haven't spent all of the time that you needed to spend in the problem. So we need to focus on this first. Now, after you've done all the problem, there still has to be a reason why what they've tried, whether it's 500 different therapies and $500,000, hasn't worked. If you don't believe that, by the way, you shouldn't be selling the offer you're on, because there's something that you need to believe about your offer that is different to all of the other treatments and money that they've spent as to why you think it would help them. Otherwise, you shouldn't be selling the offer. So what is it? What is the pattern? Someone said in the chat, what if someone spent $1 million or loads of money? Well, then my question is, so you've spent $1 million and your cancer is actually getting worse. Why do you feel you've spent so much money and your cancer is actually getting worse? They have to come up with an answer. Well, I've spent all of this money on doing, expensive modern treatments instead of fucking Ayurvedic medicine. Okay, got it. So have you gotten to the point where you're no longer willing to spend more money on these laboratory procedures as opposed to Chinese medicine? Yes, I have. Why now? There you go. That's ownership done. So it doesn't matter how much they've tried or how much they've spent. It's why have you not solved the problem? Whether you haven't solved the problem because you've not spent any money, or you haven't solved the problem because you've spent so much money. If the prospect can't give you a good answer to that, what's the likelihood that they give you more money? 0. They have to believe in a reason why they haven't solved the problem already, and your offer is a different thing. Hence, they're going to give you money. If they turn around and say, I don't know, I've spent loads of money and I don't know why it didn't work, you think they're going to just give you $10,000 off on a whim? Well, I'll just try something else. No, they're not going to. They're going to give you objections and won't give you the money. That's why this part of the conversation is so important. They have to realize that there is some missing thing in what they've tried in the past, whether it's lack of effort, lack of money, lack of thinking through a different way to solve the problem, lack of commitment once they're in the program, lack of belief in the program, whatever it is. There has to be something that they've missed, which is why they haven't solved their problem. And they have to tell you what that is. You get it out of them through questions, but they have to tell you that, or they won't give you money. They won't give you money if they just say, I don't know, I've tried a bunch of things, I'm not sure why it didn't work. And then you say, do you want to put that on Visa, Amex, MasterCard, or Discover? They're not going to give you any money. Is this clear, folks? Okay, all right, so let's jump back into the call. But
we'll see how much further we go. But the call has to be focused on pulling out the problem. If you don't do that for at least 50% of the discovery, none of this is going to work. You're not going to get a real turning point. You're not going to get a real why us. You're not going to get real commitment. You're not going to get real ownership. And at the end of the call, you'll get a bunch of objections. They won't buy, and you'll sit there doing follow-up. And if I'm to summarize it in one thing, it is because you did not do this. This is the thing of all things in the discovery. Spend your time getting them to tell you how bad it fucking is in vicious detail. If they don't do that, they won't buy. So forget, the intro and the framing and the 4 core pillars and objection handling and your $1 million pitch and why us and why now and ownership. Forget all of that. Just do this bit here, and this is where you make your sale. Your 10 to 15 minutes of discovery and 10 to 15-ish questions of discovery questions that hold them in the pain. That is where the sale is made, here. It's why if you look at it like a ratio, you have this golden ratio where it's 50% of everything. That's where the sale is made. Okay? You still have to do these other questions, but the answers to those questions comes off the back of how well did you do this bit. If you fuck this bit up, those questions just won't land. You'll just get dog shit answers. Oh, was there a turning point? Yeah, last week was Thursday and I like Thursdays. Okay. That's the bullshit type of answer you'll get on was there a turning point? Or that's when they tell you the one like, no, not really. There wasn't really a turning point. Well, we know from human nature there has to be a turning point or they didn't book a sales call. But they won't give you the turning point because they haven't been shown through your questions the accumulation of how bad the problem is. Okay?
So hopefully you're enjoying this training. Now, if you're brand new to the channel, you can skip this. But if you've been watching my videos for weeks or months, you've gotten value, you've implemented, you're making more money because of it, the question I have for you is, what are you doing? Still sitting on the outside? Are you someone who's going to continue to just watch free content when deep down being on the inside, being mentored by me directly, being around other unicorn closers is the thing that would take you to the next level? If you think you're getting value from the free content I'm putting out here on YouTube, what do you think happens inside the mastermind? So if you know you're ready, if you're at that point, you've seen what you needed to see, click the link below this video, jump inside. I'll see you there. Now back to the training. All right, let's keep going in the call. Let's see what happens. Share your screen again, Sylvie.
I'll go back there. I'll have because my blood still isn't right from that trial.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm not going back there. And then my other option was chemo. And then I said, the other doctor told me chemo wouldn't work. Why would I do chemo? And he said, well, it has a 20% effectiveness and it would be a different one. And I would lose my hair again. And I said, I'm not doing that. So I refused his 2 things. And then when I left, I called the integrative doctor who I went to the first time. And I went there, then they squeezed me in the next day. And that guy was going on vacation for 3 weeks. So they got me in. So I met with him on Thursday. And then he was kind of like, this isn't going to be easy, and I'll give you some things to try, but he really wasn't. I did some of his I did all of whatever he's testing. He wants me to do this like I did at home. I have this like heating, I told you hypothermia they called it. Yeah. It makes your chest 170. He wants me to do these like these heat pads, but it was super expensive, like $600 a treatment, and to do it twice a week.
Oh, and for how long?
Until, I don't know, we got to see if it's results.
Okay.
And then an IV that he wanted me to do, and it was $2,000 for one IV.
Okay.
And I was like, well, and then he has me starting ivermectin, and no, it's like the human version. So I have it downstairs. And then Fen, but they're both the human versions. And then he has.
Are you currently working with him?
I just went on Thursday to
see and.
Well, I got these tests, and I'm going to start those medicines, but those other things like the $2,000 thing. Yes. I was like, I guess I'll do. I don't know. I figured I would do what he said for two months until my next scan to see. But I can stay on the pill I'm on, for now, but they want me to think of something else to try medically. And so, yeah, so I did go to that guy to get testing and stuff, but then I just saw your thing and it was talking all about the cell. So I was like, I know my cell. And he was very, like he wasn't very confident. He also said I can try this personalized peptide treatment that he's never done before. He got a grant for it. I can call and get a Zoom call to talk about it. But he goes, I'm like, how expensive is that? I didn't even get into that yet, but it's supposedly but he didn't really have many. He didn't seem, I wasn't that like confident. I left crying the whole way home, and I wasn't like, I was still uneasy. And then that was Thursday.
Pause.
And Friday, I listened to
That's the first time we've got any actual real data. I left crying the whole way home, ha, 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 and she laughs. So either you have to cut her off and ask about that, or unless she gives you something more real, that's your next question. Because everything else she's telling you, as I've just been training on for the last 20 minutes, is not actually relevant. Because at this point in the call, the thing that's relevant is, are you in pain? Physical, emotional, spiritual. That's the only question that needs to be going on in your head in the front part of the call. Are you in pain? That's not the question you ask the prospect, but that's your compass for how am I asking my questions at the front part of the call. Are you in pain? I'm going to keep asking you questions to see, are you in pain? How much pain? Where is the pain? How bad is the pain? How's the pain affecting you? Pain, 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 pain. That's your compass for everything at the front part of the call. And that's the first point I noticed anything. Hang on, pause a second, Nicole. You said you went to the doctor, they didn't seem confident, and you left crying the whole way home. Why? And then she'll sigh, and you'll actually get something. I guarantee you, I would bet you $100,000 right now, if you said that, she will sigh. She'll go, well, blank, blank, blank. And she'll actually tell you something that's finally useful on this discovery. Because that's the first point where we've actually noticed something that was about pain. Everything else, she's just telling you data and numbers and statistics and medication names and ivermectin this and whatever. It's like, we're on a sales call. We're not on a data gathering call as far as what treatments have you tried. It's a sales call, and you make a sale by someone being in a shitload of pain. That's how you make a sale or problem. They have to have a massive fucking problem, burning problem. All right, keep going.
This email I had, and it was like uncurable in what they did. And they actually talked about acupuncture and stuff. So I'm like, I've never done that. So we found someone locally it was acupuncture and natural healing. So I called and they said, I can come in tomorrow. So I went yesterday and I went to the lady and she was actually an herbalist too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I never did any of that. So that's something new. So she gave me 2 other mushroom pills to try, reishi and cornish.
That sounds exhausting for you. That must be so heavy for you.
And then she gave me the teas. So I was a personalized tea, but I was listening to Dr. And then she looked at my tongue. I listened to some video on his about cancer, and it talked about your tongue. And she did all that. Like she goes, "Let me see your tongue," and then she gave me this.
Pause again.
My tongue and everything.
So notice what I was saying before. She has cancer. She seems pretty fucking jolly. You just said it sounds exhausting. She's like, oh yeah, this happened. Like it's almost like this is now her narrative, as in like, I'm a cancer patient and this is my fucking story and it's just what I tell people. It sounds crazy, guys, but like this person doesn't give a shit right now about having cancer. It's not that if we dig, she won't care, but the conversation that's been orchestrated so far is her just having a great time telling you all the different things she's tried. And by great time, I actually mean, and this is a weird one, and UM talks about it a lot, she's having a great time or a payoff being in the energy space of listing off the exhausting details of her cancer process. She's actually getting a payoff emotionally from, I tried this, and then it was this treatment, and then it was this milligrams, and then it went up to this milligrams. That she's actually getting a payoff from that being something that's her narrative to tell you. Like when UM says to all of you, you're getting a payoff from, having a combative conversation with the prospect. Sounds ridiculous, but you are doing it because you're getting some type of payoff from it. We don't want the prospect to be getting a payoff
because that means they don't need to give you money because they're already receiving some type of payment, which is some type of weird fucking sadistic enjoyment of this being her life story. We need to actually put them in real pain through questions. Okay. You can tell because you tried to say, you know, this sounds exhausting. She wasn't like, oh my God, it's so bad. And you would hear it in their tonality. Their voice would be very grounded. Their body language would be very heavy. And she just fucking ignored the question and just said, oh yeah, and then this happened. Can you see this, guys? Like how this is the opposite of someone actually being associated, if it is, to some serious frustration about having cancer. Sylvie, what were you going to say?
That I tried to bring out that emotion from her, but she kept doing this and just not going there. I think now with what you said, like the moment that she said she was like crying on her way home, if I would have dug into that, that was my door to go through to get to the emotion. Because me asking her, yeah, go ahead.
That would be, and then also if your questions up until now were about what's actually happening to her because of having the cancer. Now, don't want to be too harsh on you, Sylvie, and this is a training for everybody. But do you see how do you see how as closers we can say this was a difficult prospect. They didn't want to tell me they had any pain and they weren't, you know, they were laughing everything off. It's like, no, it's your fault. You didn't ask the right questions or have the right conversation for her to actually be in pain. It's not that they were a difficult prospect. You were asking the wrong things and you were listening to the wrong things and allowing the conversation to be about numbers and data and treatments and this, that, and the other. Maybe we get into that later, but the front part of the call, you have to be, it's like when you go bowling, 10-pin bowling, and if you're shit at bowling, you put up those two barriers on the side. So if you throw the ball and you can't throw in a straight line, it's going to just keep hitting off the barriers and still hit the pins. That's what you do in the conversation. It's like, yeah, we're not going to go and talk about this thing right now. I'm going to pull you back into the middle. We're not going to go and talk about this thing right now. I'm going to pull you back into the middle. And at the front part of the call, the middle, straight down the line, is talking about pain. Not trying to listen to them talking about things that are not pain and then say, well, let me put them in pain by saying, oh, it sounds emotional or it sounds exhausting. No, you got to orchestrate the conversation by asking questions that can only be about pain. Okay, you've got cancer. You've had cancer for 5 years. What symptoms do you have? Oh, I've got this, and this. Okay, it's when I heard you say those 5 things, I noticed that the one you lent on the most, as in felt the heaviest, was this one. You mentioned not having energy. Is there something specific that you notice you don't have energy for? Yeah, it's being there for my son. Okay, how old's your son? What specific activities are you not there for him for? When in the morning he wants to do blank, 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 and I don't have energy, blah, 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 blah. And now we've actually got an issue with the cancer, and that issue has to be more expensive than your program. Not being there for her son has to be worth more than the $10,000 that your program is. The thing that makes the price not important is the pain. And that pain can be, you can put a number on it, an artificial number, because it's not like you go down the street and you just buy something like being there for your child and it has a price tag, but you can imagine what the price would be. Okay. All right. We'll leave that call there. You have to focus on asking questions around the pain. Okay. All right, folks, let's go through some of these quick questions and then we'll jump into the next call. Michael, what's your question?
So with prospects who kind of ignore your question, or let's pretty much say ignore it, most of the time it's probably because they don't respect you. But let's say like that is true and they're just ignoring it. Would you kind of file it away like, oh, they're pointing me to this hole, I'll kind of go there, explore it with them, and then come back here later? Or would you be... Okay.
No, this is what I mean about you are the orchestrator.
Okay.
If you know that what you need to talk about at this point of the call is pain, and they keep trying to get off the pain, you have to keep bringing them back. And if they do it, random number 3 times, that is the issue. Okay, so you said you've got cancer. I'm trying to understand how, if at all, and if so, to what level, this is affecting you. But every time I ask you a question about your pain with cancer or your symptoms or the experience, you keep talking to me about treatments. Now, I'm curious, why is it that instead of talking about the issues that you're having, you keep wanting to take the conversation to talking about treatments? and I'll ask her or him. But it's your job to orchestrate the conversation.
I see. So you're literally, if they ignore the question, you're pretty much going to call them out on ignoring the question.
Correct, because I don't have fucking all day to waste sitting on a sales call. If I know the first 15 minutes of a sales call, we need to talk about a problem, how low value of you to just be like, well, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'll just not do it. Like, I know how to make a sale and to serve the prospect. And that is, we spend the first 15 minutes talking about pain. You're either going to do it, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, or I'm going to unsell you and get off the call and go and make a cup of tea and do something else. I'm not going to sit here for an hour when you want to go and do something else, which isn't going to serve you and isn't going to get me paid. I don't close for free. I close to get fucking rich and in the process to help people. If you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. Go and do whatever you want to do in your life, but I'm not going to play that game. And this is where it comes down to identity. Frame control comes from your identity. This is how I run my game. You're either playing or I'm not playing with you. I'll go play with someone else. But this is what I'm doing. When my calls start for the day to when my calls finish, we're running my process. And you'll get tested on this, by the way, just going off on a little rabbit hole here. You'll get tested by this the most to see how solid your identity is, or what we trained on in Carbo, a line in the sand. Because when you first start doing this, if you have any doubt or any hesitation, what will happen, I don't want to project this into the universe, but it's better for you to be forewarned, your call volume will drop. Because it's very easy to get off a sales call here and get off a sales call there when the prospect isn't playing ball, when you're in an abundance of calls. But what happens when you only have 3 calls that week? Do you move your boundary because you're a fucking pussy? And by pussy, I mean you're in scarcity. You will only be delivered an abundance of calls and an abundance of leads when you are abundant on the inside, because your external reality is a reflection of your internal reality. And you only can be seen as being abundant internally through the test of when your external reality is in scarcity. Once you go through that energetic spiritual test, you won't get tested again on that. But it's like a rite of passage. So it's very easy for me to say, hey guys, yeah, you know, if you're on a call with a prospect and they're not playing ball, just get off the call. You'll do that when you have your first 1 or 2 weeks of full calls. Then you'll have a week where your call volume goes down and you'll forget the rule that I just gave you. And all of a sudden you'll break the rule. And then it will get worse. It will just spiral out of control and you'll get less calls, less leads, less closes. And it will just keep getting worse and worse and worse until you go through the self-actualizing lesson, which is why we teach self-actualized selling, which is you choosing to be in abundance internally and therefore following a process that would be how you would do things when you're in abundance, despite being in scarcity externally. It's why this is an inner game through the vehicle of sales. It's not sales and we're doing a bit of inner work on the side. It is an inner transformation and sales is just a vehicle that you're doing that. Make sense? Okay. All right. Anything else on that, Michael?
Nope. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right. Zach, what's your question?
Yo, what's going on, man? I have I feel like eternal struggle with the ownership part of the Fibonacci thing. Selling agency lead gen, obviously a ton of people are like, well, there's so many scams out there. I've tried all these things, been burned 1 trillion times before. And like, sometimes it's easy to point out like, oh, that's your fucking fault. But a lot of times people just like refuse to accept that they have anything to do with the fact that they've just chosen a bunch of shitty companies in a row. And that's when they start looking for a guarantee or...
No. Okay. It's not necessarily that they've chosen a bunch of shitty companies in a row. It's that happened and they're holding on to it to keep them from taking another action. That's the ownership. The ownership is not, why are you a fucking idiot that chose all of the wrong companies? The ownership is, okay, so you've chosen companies, it didn't work out before, and it sounds like the reason that you haven't taken another action is you've held on to the fact that those companies didn't work out and kept you from taking another action step. Is that a fair assessment? They have to say yes or no. If they say no, then you challenge them on that. Well, I hear you, but that's not what I'm hearing from you. Because what you brought up as to why you haven't signed up with someone else is you got burned in the past, which is true. But if you focus on that, are you going to solve your lead flow issue, or are you going to continue as you have been spending another 12 months procrastinating on taking action on signing up for another lead gen service? This is where you'd have to challenge them. If they turn around and said, yeah, that is true, okay, then you tie it down. So why, if it is now the time that you're no longer going to allow being burned in the past and holding on to that to keep you from signing up with another lead gen service? Why, if it is, why now are you going to move past that? That's ownership.
A common situation, and tell me if I'm on the right lines here, is I'll ask, why, given your past experiences, why now would you be ready to invest again? Or how are you going to make sure that this time is different, given,
You've got
3
to
times
ask that previous question.
Okay, first.
That previous question is their choice moment where they can decide, and you're not pushing them either way. What you're doing is jumping over that question and then just going straight to, okay, why now are you not going to why now are you not going to allow being burned in the past to keep you from taking action again? You can't jump to that. You have to go from, so you've tried programs in the past, you got burned, and it's now been 12 months since you've tried something else, and it's costing you $25,000 a month in opportunity cost because of the fact you don't have the leads. Why do you feel you haven't taken another action to solving this problem? They have to tell you. And they'll either say, well, I've kind of held on to the fact I've been burned in the past. Fair enough. Are you going to keep holding on to that? Or they'll say, I don't know. And then you have to offer up a few suggestions. Or could I make a suggestion? We've seen a lot of people that come to us, they end up signing up with us, but frankly, they should have signed up with us 2 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever. And the reason they didn't is that they had been burned in the past. That's just the industry. There's a lot of scammers out there, but they held on to that. Is that you? Oh, yeah, I guess so. Well, I guess so. Yes, no. What's going on? Yeah, it is. I've held on to the fact that we've been burned in the past. Okay. You held on to that. It's cost you $555,000 over the last 12 months in lost opportunity cost. How many more days are you going to hold on to it? Not another day. Why? Well, you just made me realize that this is my own fault. That's the whole point of ownership. You made me realize it's my own fault. Very difficult, nigh on impossible to get them to say it's my own fault that I chose the wrong companies. Pretty difficult.
I've been thinking like, man, what's wrong with the way that you're evaluating these companies? But it's less about that and more.
You could touch on that. You could say briefly, okay, so, and again, it's so contextual to the numbers. Like, I've tried 3 companies. I got scammed on all 3, and I now haven't taken action on another one. The most likely thing is they're holding on to the fact they've been scammed. That's different to, I've tried 15 different companies and I've been scammed by every one. Well, hang on a second. It's a lot of companies for you to be scammed by. Now, I'm not saying they weren't all scams, and I'm also not saying that there isn't a lot of scams out there. But why do you think you've been unable to find and select and work with the ones that aren't scams, and you keep ending up choosing to work with the ones that are scams? It's contextual. It's like, well, did they fuck up the decision 15 times? Well, then that's probably the issue I'm going to have to talk about. Or did they make 2 bad choices and then now they've just done nothing?
Yeah.
Then the conversation around, why did you evaluate 2 or 3 times the wrong company? It's probably not that important. Does that make sense?
Cool. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Let's jump into the next call review, folks. Share your screen.
Great. How are you? I'm good. I'm doing better all the time.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
I had a stroke about 3 weeks ago, so I'm in the hospital getting rehab right now.
Can't hear it now.
One of the reasons this piqued my interest was because I like stock trading, and I may wind up needing a new career when this is all over. I don't know yet, but I'm making a good recovery, and my mind is intact. And my computer skills are a little rough still because my right hand is compromised. But I'm very eager to hear what you have to say.
Wow. Okay. So you had the stroke 3 years ago, or not 3 years, 3 weeks ago. and that's put you in the hospital since.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in a regular hospital for a week and a half, and now I've been at a rehab hospital for 10 days, and I'm due to get out on Sunday.
Okay.
So
that's great.
now I'm up walking and my speech is about half of what it normally is.
Sounds good to me.
And my right hand is pretty somewhat compromised. I don't have full movement of it yet, but I can work with some. God is good. I'm on the right track.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you're doing better and you're going to be out on Sunday. Well, great. Well, I know, Phil, we've got limited amount of time, so you're ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's jump in. I'm free for the next hour and a half, so I don't have any therapies today.
Okay.
I just finished my last one.
Very good. Well, perfect. What we'll do, first and foremost, I'm definitely excited.
Pause, Brian.
Just
what I like is that you jump straight into your frame. It's good. You're not like going down a rabbit hole of the conversation he said. But it did feel like there needed to be a tiny little bit more of a bridge from the fact that he was telling you, you know, I'm getting out, I think you said Monday. And so all I would have recommended is a little bridge of something like, you know, I'm glad to hear that you're getting out Monday. Sounds like you're considering being proactive with something to do before you're even out of the hospital. So if you're ready, we can go ahead and jump in.
Yeah.
Like just that connection of seeing the dots connect in your mind as the closer of like, that's interesting. He's not even out yet, but we're already on a sales call. Sounds pretty proactive. And just connecting that would make him feel heard, would make him feel understood. And then you roll into, so I know we've got a limited amount of time. If you're ready, we can go ahead and jump in. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
That extra tiny little bit felt like it would make what he said to you make more sense to the fact that you're now moving over to your frame. Okay.
It's awesome. Right. Thank you.
I have a question, Josh.
Go for it.
Would you not want to just double check? Because he said his speech was at 50%. Like, hey, sounds good to me, but like, you know, mentally, are you good to take this call? Because if you're going to ask him for, you know, 5 figures of money, do we want to make sure that like mentally he's in a good condition where that's gonna be fine?
Yeah, it's a very, very fair point. You definitely could. The only reason I wouldn't have done it, and I'm not saying that you can't or that you're not right to do it, is I'll let the data tell me the answer. As in like, am I going to start asking him questions and he kind of doesn't really answer the questions? Then I can see for myself. Because you've got to think a little bit higher level, which is if someone's brain isn't working properly and you ask them, is your brain working properly? Well, the fact that their brain isn't working properly, you can't really validate the answer they're about to give you anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I wasn't going
to. I kind of have to see for myself.
Got it.
But I like the idea of like being very ethical of like, well, you know, let's not push this guy through a sales call if perhaps he does need a bit more time to get compos mentis. All right.
Yeah, even ethically, like I was just curious, like what if, you know, his wife or someone that's taking care of him finds out and then is like, you guys sold and made this guy buy something while he was drugged up in a hospital. Like,
yep.
You know.
Okay, let's play that scenario out though. Let's say you did what you said. Are you okay to take this call? And he says yes. Then you sell him, he buys, his wife finds out, goes bananas and says, why did you run the call? And you say, well, I asked him, is he fine to run a call? She will turn around and say, yeah, but he just told you he's not fine. So it doesn't negate the fact that you asked the question. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Keep going.
Dig into what you've got going on in regards to trading and your finances right now. Then we'll also get clarity on what it is that you're actually looking to accomplish when it comes to trading. Then if that's in alignment, both those things are in alignment with what we do here at Stock Navigators, I'll share my screen and I'll walk you through how everything works. If that sounds good.
Okay. That sounds good.
Great. So I did get a chance to look over the application and obviously what you just shared, but I'm curious, in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge you're having with trading right now?
Well, for a while, I was doing really well on picking covered puts, making a good return. And then about, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, I was mostly in tech and energy stocks, and they just started doing poorly. So my gains turned around, and I'm at a slight loss right now. So that's frustrating. When I was making about 5% per month before, and now I'm back to ranking. Oops, I lost you. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Let me see what I did. Just try to get it back. There we go. I can see again.
Okay.
So just I was selling covered puts, and then when the stock would, it's about most of the time they were expiring, which is what I wanted, and then they all started getting put to me as the market turned down a little bit.
Pause.
And I wound up buying a whole bunch of stocks.
Just a quick one on what we're laughing about in the chat, guys. Faith noticed that my face. I was like, wow, that's crazy. This guy's fucking brain isn't even fully functioning. And he's like the clearest, simplest answering the question prospect of most prospects that I've ever heard. The lesson in that, guys, is to not assume anything. Like, how easy would it be as a closer to hear the guy say that and think, fuck me, this guy probably shouldn't say this, but it's probably going to be retarded. The way that he speaks. It's like, don't assume. Like, he's turned out to be like the clearest prospect of most prospects you would ever hear. And so there is a very fundamental lesson in that, which is just don't assume anything.
Jake knows this guy is one of the most clear prospects we have because our company is owned by Vietnamese people. So this is like clear English. It's a blessing. So
awesome.
We'll jump back in.
And my total net return is down a little bit. So that's frustrating. I'm a few $1,000s off of where, you can break even. So I just stumbled across the thing last night. I thought, well, if I could get back to making 5% a month or more, I'd be in a good position for retirement. I might be able to get back to work, or I may not. I don't know how well my therapy is going to go, but I really like stock trading, and it looked like I would love to learn a system that, evaluated the lines that you knew when it was the right time to get in and out and everything. So that's where I'm at.
I got it. Okay. So yeah, with the injury, you're unclear whether or not you're going to be able to return back to work. And if you're able to
pause.
Back to.
So based on what he just said, what is the most important thing that we have to tie down? Can't go anywhere else in the conversation until you tie this down. Well done, Faith. You have to clarify. Okay, so you're not sure if you will be able to go back to your work. It sounds like if you can't, you obviously are looking at trading. Let me ask you, what about the reality where you can go back to work? He has to say, well, I'd rather not. I'd rather do trading. Yeah. If he doesn't say that, what is the likelihood that he gives you $10,000 at the end of the call when there is a unknown variable, which is, well, I might end up just going back to work and then I don't have to give you $10,000 and I don't have to do stock trading. You cannot sell this guy. Impossible without that clarity. So it has to be your next question. Well done, Faith. All right, keep going.
Consistent 5% return, then you'd be in a good spot to potentially not have to work, it sounds like. But
yes,
preventing you from doing that, it sounds like, is you don't have a clear system that allows you to really time when you're entering and exiting. And that's she lost a few thousand, it sounds like.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So let's figure that out then. So then right now, when you were making 5% each month, what did that equate to in terms of dollars and cents?
Pause again. Do you see how quick you can lose a call, guys? It's like, there's nothing else that is going to sell this guy right now. You could do everything else perfect in this call. But if you don't tie down, is he going to do this if he can go back to work? That's the call ended, guys. Like, that is it. It's why you have to just have such a silent mind, and two things that you need: fully silent mind, so you have no pre-planned questions. You just heard what the guy said. And then you're not trying to make a sale. If you're trying to make a sale, you wouldn't ask the question that Faith and I just said. But if you're just looking at it from a point of view of like ethically, like Faith was saying before, ethics of like, well, ethics and I want to get paid. But it's like, well, if he can go back to work and he preferred to do that, then we don't need to be on a sales call. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, guys. The answer that he'll give you will be the one which would allow him to buy, because that's why he's on a sales call. Consciously or unconsciously, the prospect has already thought of that question in their own head. I'm planning for the worst, so I want to learn stock trading so I can make money if I can't go back to work. But I also want to do that and have it work out so I don't have to go back to my old job.
He's already thought through that question. But you can't let the assumption that he's thought it through, even though valid, mean that you don't ask the question, because he has to verbalize it out loud. Okay? All right, keep going. Let's see what happens.
I have around 116,000 invested in the market right now.
Okay. So you're making about 5K a month, roughly.
Yeah. And I would put more if.
Sorry, pause, Brian.
Consistent.
What's the 5K a month from?
His trading over the last few months.
Oh, okay. So 116, and then you divided it.
Yeah. So he was making like 5% return on that each
Got
month.
it.
Question on that real quick, Josh.
What's up?
Did he actually say he was making 5% a month, or is that what his goal was? Because
No, he said he was making 5%.
I thought
then he started to lose money.
Okay, I thought that he was saying, okay, so going back, did he say going back to making 5% a month? Because I feel like that was a bit of an assumption. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So what you're saying, Jeremy, is he was at 5%, but now he's not. And the way Brian phrased it kind of gave a little bit of an illusion of you're at 5K a month.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Keep going.
Where I could count on the income, I've got a few 100,000 more that I would add to it if I knew as the returns.
Fucking lay down sale, bruv.
I know.
So I started it.
All he's doing is laying down right now. Anyway.
With rolling out 100,000 out of my IRA to do investing with.
That makes sense.
So if I become a pro investor, I put a couple 100,000 more with that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, okay, so then obviously you said you like stock trading too, so you'd want to do this if you can. Sounds like full time. So what were you doing for work before the accident and the stroke?
I'm a pastor at a church with
more
senior.
Okay.
So I preach and I sing every week, as well as lead a lot of meetings and events and things like that. Visit with people.
Pause, Brian.
My voice was lost, so.
Bit of a curveball. I know that you're pretty religious. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
One thing to be careful of on sales calls, guys, is we don't bring ourself to the call, meaning our own interests, things that we care about, things that we like about. It's a weird one where, yes, you need to connect with the prospect, but you're actually connecting with the prospect in the way that you're just a mirror to them. It's not you, the human version of you, connecting with the human version of the prospect. You are just a vessel, and you are a vessel where you're just a mirror. You're just holding up the mirror to them, orchestrating the conversation through questions. And it's like, I think I've said this before, the prospect is actually connecting with themselves, and you're the vessel that allows them to connect with themselves. And the reason I bring it up is the state that you would be in, Brian, where you actually acknowledged the fact that he said he's a pastor in the way that you did is not the real state of leadership. Real leadership is, I don't even exist on this sales call.
Yep.
So if he said, I'm a pastor, you just say, cool. Like, there's no like little smile or little smirk of like, oh, he's one of my guys. Because then that means you're bringing you to the call. You shouldn't even be on the fucking call.
That's right.
You're just a vessel. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Damn.
True leadership means that nothing about your life comes up on the fucking sales call. And you notice this with guys. Sure, if you ask him a question about his health system or whatever, he'll answer the question. But whenever you're on a call with him or in person, he's not talking about himself. He's not there. He's just facilitating you having the conversations that you need to have to take you to the next level. That's what makes him the mentor. That's what makes him the leader. He's not in the conversation. Okay? And that's how you need to be on a sales call as well.
How do you tap into that? Now I'm starting to think like, shit, that is a big thing that I know I'm not doing, even in personal life too.
And all of your energy on the prospect, and there's nothing left to be left for you.
Fuck.
It's just all the prospect. And this is why you have to get in state, guys, because part of getting state is you, and I did this in person in Cabo, the physical human version of you dissolves and it just fucking disappears. You're the physical you is not there. You're now just like tapped into the infinite source,
and you're asking questions that are just flowing through you, but the physical version of you doesn't exist anymore in that moment.
I see. You're just focusing completely on them.
Yep.
Nothing else. There we go.
All right, keep going.
Some of my going back to work will depend on how my boy feels and the rest of the speech therapy goes.
I see. Okay. So then, yeah, right now, with how everything's going, how certain are you that you'd be able to go back?
Confident I'll be able to go back, whether I'll ever be 100% and be able to do everything or not. So I would, if I knew I could make some decent money, it would take a lot of pressure off to know that I could retire and be okay. Right now, if I don't make money in the stock market, I need to work. You know, I'm 67 years old, but before the stroke, I had tons of energy and was a go-getter and wasn't planning on retiring before like 70 or something like that until I had more money saved.
Okay. So yeah, you mentioned that if you could make more money doing this, that would take the pressure off.
Connect the dots. When you connect the dots, you connect with people. And again, not the you that connects, but you're connecting them with themselves. What is a dot that you could have just connected there? The guy said, prior to the stroke, I was a go-getter. Now after the stroke, I'm not sure how things are going to be. What is a dot that you can connect there, which would make the connection that you have with the prospect seem fucking massive, that you got him on such a high level? Any ideas?
What are you now?
Not quite.
No.
Also for faith, not quite. So it would be something to this effect. It sounds like prior to your stroke, you were a go-getter. You had the physical capacity to be a go-getter. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but what I'm noticing, the fact that you've put money into trading, you're on this call today, you're being proactive, it sounds like mentally, like who you are, you're still a go-getter, but you're just not sure if your body is going to physically have that same capacity. But as far as your, we could call it like your identity, you still are that person and you still want to be that person. Is that accurate? He'll be like, holy fucking shit. Because that's true. Like, he's had a stroke and we're all laughing about the fact that he's the simplest prospect we've ever heard. He's still a go-getter. He's just unsure if his body's going to be able to do it. And so, like, connecting with him as a human being, his identity, probably fucking buy from you just from doing that. Because that's his real pain point as well, by the way, guys. His spiritual identity, he's not sure if it's going to match his physical body anymore. That's his fucking pain point. He doesn't want to just, like, go back to work at 67, having been a physical go-getter all his life and find that his body just can't keep up anymore. He also doesn't just want to retire and be a fucking deadbeat and do nothing. He is this person inside, this go-getter. He just now needs to make a pivot to something that post-stroke, he can still give it his all. And you offer that to him, you serve it up on a silver fucking platter as trading. You see how this is very high level, like connecting everything together at a very high level?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Keep going from there.
I mean, is there pressure currently? Able to go back as a pastor to 100% capacity?
Well, it's hard to say. The rehab is going very well, so they're very optimistic that I will be able to go back. But the thing is, I'd like to do the stock trading, whether I'm going.
All right, pause. Sometimes I like to have a lot of fun on a sales call. You don't want to do anything that's like corrupt. But I'm just thinking if I'm in real state, what my next fucking question would be. And it's because he's mentioned he's a pastor like 3 times. And also the fact that we need to get a piece of data, which is like, if he doesn't physically fully recover, what is he going to do? I would probably ask him,
oh, no.
I assume as a pastor, you pray a lot. And he'd be like, yeah, I pray all the time. Have you prayed to God about which direction you should go next? Yes. What did God say? Did you get a response? Yeah, he said that I've done a great job as a pastor and, you know, I've served my community, but that I should go and do trading. Okay, cool. Like, you want to just shortcut the sales call? Well, there's your fucking answer. Like, and this is why it's scriptless, because you're not going to fucking ask that to someone that isn't a pastor or isn't super deep on religion. Obviously not. You'd completely fuck up the call. But it's like, why am I not going to use the most obvious route? You're a pastor. You're pretty fucking religious. You're in a bit of an impasse. I mean, pastor
at a crossroads, doesn't have the variable, which is the unknown, what are they going to do? They're probably going to just fucking pray on it. So ask them, like, did you pray on it? Yes. Did you get an answer? Yeah, that's why I'm on the call. Oh, interesting. What was the conversation you had with God? Well, he said that, I should progress this trading thing. Nice. So you mentioned, even if the treatment goes well, you could go back to work. I mean, sounds like kind of divine intervention, God's helping hand as far as your direction, that this is the direction that you need to go. Is that accurate? Yes. Now I've just handled the objection through a very, very contextual way of doing it. Does this make sense? It's scriptless, guys. So like, why are you not going to use the most direct route to get the conversation that you need to have? And you could all see, because I know that it comes across in my face, like how much fun I'm having. I'm like, man, I'm so grateful I didn't become a fucking script reading pussy. Like, how fucking boring would that be? Like, I'm having fun. I would close the deals that you don't close. I don't have to handle objections, and I'm having a great time doing it and making way more money. The whole point of scriptless is to use the fact that it's scriptless. Don't just call yourself a scriptless closer, but don't actually use the fact that you have infinite ways of navigating the conversation that you need to navigate. Okay? All right, Brian, keep going.
I want to have a system that works and I'm successful at.
Okay. How long have you been involved in trading in one way or another?
Probably aggressively about 2 years, but a little here and there for like 30 years.
I see. Okay, so more active than the last two, it sounds like, but you've been involved for longer. Right. Okay. So then, yeah, so I'm curious then, I obviously understand with the stroke and everything, how that would impact your ability to go back to work 100%. But is there anything else going on that means after 2 years of being more active, you finally want to get a proper system for trading?
Well, yes, because the last few months of losses have been very frustrating because it was going so well for so long.
Okay. How long was it going well for?
Let's see, 6 or 8 months, I guess.
Okay, and that's when you were consistently bringing in the 5%.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. How long has it not been positive?
Maybe the last 2 months.
Okay, so let's look at this then. So the last month, what happened with your trading exactly? How much did you lose, if anything?
Well, I've never done any thing but covered stuff. So I don't ever lose my investment outright. I don't do uncovered calls or anything like that. But I wind up buying stocks, at a price that is not favorable. So I wind up with the goal of selling puts is that you're all cash all the time and you never get put to. And I wind up with a pretty big portfolio now. I think I've got about 30 or 40 different stocks in my portfolio because they've been put to me at one time or another because I didn't guess the market well and placed in the trade.
Okay, I understand. So now you're stuck with a bunch of stocks that you otherwise wouldn't have done.
Right. I've got 100 shares of all these different stocks.
And are they going up in value, or what does it look like?
They're pretty stable right now, but they haven't fully recovered from the drop that they did in the last month or two.
How much did they drop by?
Well, from my portfolio was worth, let's say, I think it hit 100 in the 120s, maybe 122,000, and it dropped down to just maybe 104,000 at its low. And I think today was, last time I looked at it, I'm at like 114, something like that. So I put to begin with, I did 100,000 in one account, and then I did Roth from 2004, and 2000, either 4 and 5 or 5 and 6. I did a double Roth. So those are in side-by-side accounts, but I invest both of them the same.
Okay, pause. So you kind of got to do a bit of a recap here, which is there's 3 things going on. And you need to recap so that he can validate that and also so you can stay on top of things. What are those 3 things, guys, as far as big picture here? What are the 3 things? Any ideas?
Returning to work.
Very
losing
good.
his capacity. That's one of them. And then,
Yep. So let's get it more specifically, though. So let's call it crossroads. So crossroads, there's this uncertainty about,
will he be able to go back to work? Plus, does he want to go back to work? So there's this crossroads. There's this intersection here. So that's number one. Well done. Number two.
Going from having consistent gains to going down the last 2 months.
Correct. So first noticeable loss post, and you've got to get both of these. So it's first noticeable loss plus post having gains. Okay, so it's up, bang, having a loss. Okay, and number three.
My thought was he's been doing well for so long, but now it's only been 2 months that it's gone downward. So what if that's just bad luck?
Okay, very good point. I'm talking about because you're talking about handling an objection, which is absolutely true. That will be down here. I wouldn't even call it number 4. It's like something separate, but yeah, we do need to talk about that. This is clarifying his current situation. Like, what's the key points of his current situation? That's the objection, which we do have to cover, but it's not that. What's the other one? The final one, guys, is he's got an extra 100K that he wants to put in.
Mm-hmm.
So the solution as far as trading and getting systems for trading is, number 1, because you're at a crossroads. Number 2, because you've had your first loss. And number 3, because you have 100K extra that you want to put in. In other words, if I'm the prospect, I don't want to put in another 100K and have gains, and then have another big loss. This is a totally separate point here. We've got another 100K to put in. I don't want to just put it in with my current approach. Does this make sense? So I'd recap. I'd say, okay, so it sounds like, correct me if I've got all this correct. You're at a crossroads. You might be able to go back to work, but you don't want to go back to that job. And if you couldn't go back to that job, then you'd be fucked. And therefore you need the trading. So number 1, you're at this crossroads. You also mentioned, that you've prayed on it and God is kind of leaning you in the direction of starting a new, we could call it career as an online trader. That's number 1. Number 2 is you don't want to just go gung-ho on that on your own, because whilst you were having gains, you've now experienced your first noticeable loss and you're now behind the 8 ball trying to recover that. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is you actually have another $100,000 in your IRA, which you want to put into trading for the first reason that we've talked about, that you're at these crossroads, but you obviously don't want to do that and find that now the loss that you've just experienced would have been twice the size because you had twice the amount of money in. Is that accurate? Those 3 kind of things is what's going on right now? Yes. You see how we're consolidating, understanding the current situation. Does this make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's the 3 things. Now, the objection that Daniel was saying is absolutely spot on. And Harry brought it up as well. Maybe some others of you in the chat, which is, trading can have ups and downs. And so I'm wondering, how do you feel about the fact that you were winning, and then you've had your first loss? And what I mean by how do you feel is, do you feel that's just part of the game? Do you feel like, you could just go back to what you're doing and just go on another run of making gains? Or do you feel like it's something that was a result of the fact that you don't have a system? Like, I don't want to put any words in your mouth, but just give me an idea of what you're thinking and feeling about the current run and then the loss, and just leave it fully open. Let him tell you what his thoughts are. And obviously his thoughts have to be, and they will be because he booked in an inbound sales call. Well, I thought I had an idea of what I was doing, but now in hindsight, 2020 vision, I realized I was just guessing. I see. Now connect it back to the context. So are you willing to just guess as you pass through this crossroads and aim to invest another $100,000? No, I'm not willing to just guess. Okay, so what are you willing to do? I'm willing to invest money to get a program. Interesting. Why our program? Boom. Now we're the ball's fucking rolling. But you've got to bring it back to that context. It's not just, are you willing to keep guessing? It doesn't really matter if there was nothing at stake. It's, are you willing to keep guessing? Given that, number 1, you're at a crossroads, and number 2,
you want to put another 100 grand in. I demonstrate this on every one of these trainings, guys, and hopefully over time it will continue to sink in. Do you see how a real sales call is layered? You're getting a piece of data, asking about a new piece of data. Then once you get that new piece of data, and you might get 2 or 3 new pieces, you then layer it all into the previous data that you've got. And everything is just accumulating until you've got this compact, tight set of information of everything is clear of what's going on and how it all connects together. It's like these constellations where like this connects to this, which connects to this. You don't want to be guessing because of this reason. This reason is important because of this thing. This thing is happening because of this thing. If you fix this thing, you'll get this thing. And everything just all connects together. And you have that light bulb moment. Make sense? You've got to be able to stack all of these things as you go, or it just becomes, you know, fucking patter cake where it's like one question to the next question to the next question. No, you're going from one question to the next question to piece it all together. You're not going to be able to do that if you're thinking about your relationship with your girlfriend and you're not in state. You're not going to be doing that if you're eating too much sugar. You're not going to be able to do that if you're not sleeping well, which is why all these things matter. So you can actually have a brain that works to be able to do this. It's not rocket science, but it is fairly advanced. You know, the average person that's got a shit social life, issues at home, not eating well, not sleeping well, not getting enough fresh air, not moving their body and doing exercise, probably won't be able to do that. Certainly won't be able to do it 6 back-to-back calls in a day. It's why you have the Launchpad as the foundation. Plus, you're going to be helped. One more thing. Plus, you're going to be helped dramatically when you're in state, because as I demonstrated in Carbo, you connect to the source. And the source is the thing that's actually piecing all this together for you. It's not really your 2-dimensional brain or 3-dimensional brain. When you're in state, the things just start connecting together for you because you've removed yourself from your physical limitations and human limitations, and the divine stuff is helping you through all of this. You can only access that if you're in state. Okay. All right. Was that Ivan who had a question?
Pete.
Pete, what's up?
Yeah. I'm curious with these 3 points. There was a piece earlier in the conversation. He mentioned he wanted to save up more money for retirement as well. I didn't catch how old he is at the moment, but I was curious if that tied into this in terms of he has 100K, but it's like, is that the 100K all he has left, right? And then getting scared possibly from having that first loss and being like, oh, wow, I don't want to make mistakes if I'm going to keep doing this or if I can't go back to work. I was curious if retirement and money like on that front played into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's add that into there as well, which is, you know, the crossroads is kind of the now, and then later on is the retirement. He's currently 67, so it's like, you know, what age does he want to retire? Age, and then what is the magic number? And also from there, you know, for what? You know, what does that magic number allow him to do that he wouldn't be able to do at a smaller amount of money for retirement? Live by the lake, you know, do whatever. Okay. All right. Ivan, what's up?
Yeah. So quick question on a minor detail that you mentioned. When you asked him about like the objection that he had of having a really good streak and then a 2-month loss, you said how does he feel about it? And then you gave a couple of options. Like, does he think it's just part of the game, or does he feel it's because he doesn't have a system? I was just curious, why did you give him those options and not completely leave it open like we're usually supposed to do?
You can. I just think that there's a likelihood that he would say, what do you mean? What do I think about it? And I'd rather just cut that out. As a general rule of thumb, yeah, you want to keep it as open as you can, but I've taken enough sales calls to know, okay, you made money, you had a loss. Like, how do you feel about that? What do you think about that? He'll probably misinterpret it as, well, I feel bad about it, even though you said think. He'll probably interpret it as, like, what do you think about that? As in, like, is it good or is it bad? And he'll interpret it as, I'm asking him, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That makes sense. I was just thinking about, isn't there a better way to ask the question in a way so he doesn't misinterpret that? Or okay,
possibly, but in a sales call, as I've said before, I'm not overthinking. Shall I reanalyze my question? I'm like, I know what I need to get information on, and I'll ask it the best way I can think of in the moment. In hindsight, there could be 2 or 3 better ways to ask it, but I'm not going to worry about that.
Makes total sense.
I'm
Appreciate
only
the
worried if the way
clarification.
that I'm going to ask it is not going to get me the information I want. and then that's bad. It's like binary. It's like bad way of asking it, not going to get the information I want. Good way of asking it, gonna get the, oh, that's a tick, gonna get the information. And then there's a spectrum of like, you know, good, even better, even better, even better, even better, even better. Like within reason, I only care, is it on this side or on this side? I don't really care like how well did I ask the question. It's, are you asking the right question about the right thing in a way that you're going to get the information you need? How well did I ask it? Yeah, it doesn't really fucking matter. You know, nobody's going back through your calls after and going, ooh, you could have asked that question better, as if it fucking matters. It's like, I closed the deal. Like, does it fucking matter? No. Right? Anybody else got questions on that?
Yeah, just a quick follow-up on that one. Sorry. You said you asked a question based on whether it's good if it is on the data you need, or it's bad if it's not.
Yeah, it's a good question if I get the information that I needed to facilitate. Yes.
All right. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to the call, Brian.
I see. And now the total value has gone down by 2K.
From the beginning, yes. Maybe, I mean, it fluctuates about 6,000 or 8,000 a day. So it'll be worth 108 one day, 114 the next day, 112. You know, it bounces back and forth with the market.
I see. So at what point did it become frustrating?
Just when it, you know, I wasn't guessing as well on what trades to place. You know, I was over optimistic about a couple things, like I really like uranium energy market.
So there's the answer. Over optimistic. So that's your opening for, okay, got it. Heard, you know, I heard you said something about over optimistic. What is your perspective now as far as optimistic, pessimistic, unsure, uncertain? Where are you at? If we were to draw like a spectrum, sounds like while you were gaining and winning, you now look at that as you were overly optimistic. If nothing changed and you just carried on doing what you're doing, where is your level of belief now as you're making trades? Zero. I feel like I'm just fucking guessing. Interesting. Now that's the doubt question. That's him saying like, I don't know what I'm fucking doing anymore. And he told you the information about the question that I knew I was going to need to ask. It's not a coincidence. He knows that, you know, he's on a sales call and he has to tell you a reason that he doesn't just go back to being overly optimistic. Everybody knows that overly optimistic is a bad thing. He didn't say I was optimistic. He said I was overly optimistic, which all of a sudden takes optimism into a negative thing. It's the same as naive. Okay. All right. Keep going.
Josh, quick question.
Certain tech stuff.
Would you have interrupted him and asked that question there and then?
No, I would wait until he finishes talking and see if there's anything better.
Okay. Interesting.
Alex, I guess the risk I was taking was largely associated with I was buying puts on mostly inexpensive stocks because you can get a much higher return on the you know, you can buy a $200 stock with a put that nets $2, or you can buy a $20 stock with a put that nets $2. So the higher risk stocks, I guess, you know, that were the less expensive ones. That's the ones that I gravitated toward. Everything selling for less than $50. So I'd have a bigger put margin potential.
Okay, so you mentioned that just being overly optimistic and then seeing all of this not pan out the way that you hoped, that's what was frustrating.
Yeah.
Okay. How frustrating actually is that for you?
So just add one extra bit of context in, which is important. And you could argue this is intentionally labeling him, but that's not why I'm doing it. I'm just saying the facts. He brought up the word risk, which obviously in trading is a pretty important word to understand someone's thoughts around risk. So I would have said, sounds like, you know, you've realized that you're overly optimistic and you were more than happy to take risks because you thought they were calculated. But now in hindsight, and if you carry on with what you're doing, the risk that you're willing to take, I don't want to put this word in your mouth, but it feels like is more, I guess, ignorance, because you've now realized that you were overly optimistic when you were taking those previously calculated risks. Is that accurate? Because we really want to get clear on the fact that this guy is not, using the word again, a pussy. Like, he has no issue with taking risk, which is great. Hence why he's got 100 grand in. He's got another 100 grand he wants to put in. He's got no issues with risk. It's just he thought he was taking risk before and had some type of plan that he thought he was following. And he's now realized his plan was actually just over optimism. And he knows, because this is clearly a smart guy, that taking risk is necessary, but being ignorant is stupidity. And then we have to tie it back to the context of, you want to retire, you want to have enough money to retire, you're at a crossroads, you've got another 100 grand you want to put in, and you know you're going to have to take risks, but you now realize that, you know, your previous approach was just over optimism. Okay, so I would have added the risk bit in there as well, because it's very important in any offer, really, because if someone doesn't take risk, they're not going to grow, but especially in your offer. Okay, all right, keep going.
Having to go from consistent 5% return 8 months and then going down last 2.
You know, I thought, oh, I've got a system that works. This is great. And it'll put me in a much better shape going forward. So, yeah, it was pretty frustrating to realize it's not a great system when the market is not consistent. So that's where I'm at. So tell me about your stuff. Enough about me.
There's more. There's more. So you're saying that, okay, so yeah, you thought
So it's good that you didn't buy in, but you need to elaborate a little bit more. Not too much, because you're not over explaining yourself, but we've definitely covered a lot, but there is more that we need to cover. And you need to say this, otherwise it sounds like you're being rude. And once we've covered that, if we have alignment, then I'll definitely take you through everything we've got going on over here. You have to acknowledge that he wants your side of things. Whereas what you just said is, I still have more questions, which comes across a little bit abrasive. It's, I still have more questions. And then if that all aligns, then I will take you through everything we've got going on over here. Okay.
Daniel's comment's good. He said, any reason why you said enough about me after that?
Why do you think, guys?
Because he's pissed off. He doesn't want to talk about losing money.
Not quite, but you're on the right lines. No, it is the right conversation. It's because you just got him to say out loud, I thought I had a system, and now I realized I don't have a system. This is where the sales call starts, guys. Everything else was like preamble to get to the fact that we're now into
this guy's
the real
fucked.
conversation, which is, okay, so you don't have a system. So what are you doing with trading? Well, I'm not trading anymore. So hang on, you're down by 17,000 and you're no longer trading, and you want to fill in that gap, and you've got another 100 grand you want to put in, and you're at a crossroads, and you want to make more money for retiring, and you're not trading. Like, this is where the heat gets turned up. No wonder he's trying to, move on. Like, everything so far, he was a very great, very honest prospect, but is he in pain? No. He's just very casually telling you the truth, but he's not in pain. Okay. All right. Keep going.
You're going to be in much better shape. And then that didn't work out. So now you're in this position where it sounds like in order for you to continue to trade and not have to have the pressure on you to go work, you're going to have to get a different system.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Understand.
I would love to not have the pressure of feeling like I can't retire, if I need to.
Pause. So notice how what you said was true, but it was leaning into future pacing. You want a system. We have to start on. So given that you now realize you don't have a system, what's going on?
Damn. Such a minor thing, but it makes sense.
Okay. Keep going.
I like my job very much. I just don't know if I'll be able to do it well.
Okay. How is that pressure right now?
There's no pressure coming from them. The pressure is all self-imposed.
Right.
My employer's been great, and they hope that I can fully recover and come back. But the next few weeks will tell probably a lot. I mean, I'm making miraculous recovery so far. I couldn't walk a week and a half ago, and I'm walking well now. And my arm has come back about halfway, and my voice has come back about halfway. So
I wouldn't even know. That's fantastic. So, okay, so then where's this internal pressure to work coming from then?
So completely off kilter, like a completely different direction of the conversation, but it just popped into my head as something probably relevant. Any idea of a question or a piece of the conversation that we've completely missed that would be very contextual to this prospect and their situation?
Do we need to know his financial situation with work? I don't know if that's where you're
possibly.
thinking.
Well, I think it.
Why did you have a stroke? Because if he had a
Oh,
stroke from
shit.
stress, it's like,
Shit.
should
That's
we sell him trading? Like, I'm not really sure if that's really the answer. Like, it just popped into my head as like, yeah, we probably need to ask that actually.
oh my gosh.
And this is what would happen on a real call when you're just tuned in, is a random question will pop in to your head and you would just say, we're going to come back to all of the stuff about your trading and finances and goals and things like that. But a question just popped into my head, which I think is important, which is, do you know why you had a stroke? And he might say the answer, or he might say, why is that relevant? Which is perfectly reasonable. You've got a fucking answer lined up because you're being honest. You say it's relevant because I am curious if it would be connected to something that could be made worse by trading. Oh, no, it definitely couldn't be. Okay, cool. Are you 100% sure on that? Yes, move on. And then you're done. But it feels like we have to ask that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, keep going.
I got to work on not existing more so that comes up on the call. It's massive.
Just me. I like to work.
Okay.
I want to be useful. You know, I want to be productive.
And then, like Daniel said, you know, it's like if you're having a real scriptless conversation and you want to have, you know, these really fascinating, interesting conversations, you could ask him, do you believe things happen for a reason? Yes. Why do you think you had a stroke? Well, I think I had a stroke because, you know, I've devoted my life to God and to serving my church and serving my community. But the thing that I never really devoted it to was making a lot of money. Well, so why do you feel like, if we could say so, that God put you through that experience? Well, I think he put me through that experience to say, hey, what's this fucking guy's name? Hey, you know, you've done your job. You've done your part for the community. You've done your part for, you know, passing on my message. It's now your time to make some money, make a bunch of it, retire, live a good life. And he could say all of that. And it's like, well, now you fucking made the sale really easy. So again, totally scriptless is like, why would you not have that conversation? It's a pastor. He might believe things happen for a reason. He had a stroke. Imagine if he tells you all of that. And then you're just, okay, got it. So you're at a crossroads. God, you've prayed on it, and God's told you that you should do trading. You believe that you had a stroke to kind of realign you with the next chapter of your life, which is about making financial abundance. You were already starting to go that direction on your own, but you were overly optimistic that you knew what you were doing. You've now realized that it was over optimism and you don't actually have a system. Is that all accurate so far? Yes, that's perfectly accurate. And you know how much money he needs for retirement and all of those details. So what I'm curious about is why, if you do you feel like we're the system that you need so that you can take this next step into the next chapter of your life, which God has kind of aligned you onto this path? Why, if you do you feel like we have the system? I think for this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason. Okay, got it. Recap everything again. So I'm curious, given that this is the path, you know, the life path that God is now putting you on, and, you know, you're always a proactive person. Your body may or may not recover to that level, but mentally you can do trading. How much longer are you willing to not have the system that allows you to fully step into the path that God is putting you onto? Oh, not another day. Okay, cool. And that's the cool done. And it's done in a very abstract way because it's scriptless and it's just contextual. Does this make sense, guys? Like, I hope this is started. It's a great, cool example of like the power of scriptless.
Definitely.
Okay. All right, let's keep going.
I'm used to a very busy life. I have a big family.
How big?
5 kids and 19 grandchildren. Just had number 19.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations. So,
hey, can you tell me how long you all have been around?
Yeah, since 2018. We used to be an in-person school, but the demand grew too much to handle it. We could only fit 20 or 30 people in a classroom. But then COVID happened, so it made sense. We're like, okay, let's go online. What a better chance?
So you teach by Zoom in the classroom?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll dive into that. So
that was a little unclear in the presentation.
Perfect. Yeah. So okay, so that makes sense. So basically,
so same thing again. You're brushing over a little bit too abruptly that you are going to go into all the details. You're going to give him time
go through the presentation, answer all his questions. Now, that is conditional if you have alignment, but I feel like you're brushing over it too promptly. Give him an extra 5 seconds in your response. Not 2 minutes, but just an extra few seconds. Okay? All right, keep going.
Basically, you're saying you've been busy your whole life, right?
Yes.
You want to work, but
Right.
you're not sure if really you'll be able to go back to being a pastor, though. At least
Correct.
the same way.
Yeah.
Okay. So other than trading, is there anything else you've looked into as far as staying busy and productive if this doesn't work out?
I mean, there's probably
pause
I could do.
Yeah.
So good question. I like why you're covering it, but it's not to be busy and productive. Is there anything else you've looked into that would allow you to be a go-getter, which is how you've been all your life, despite your body potentially not being where it was before, that also would allow you to retire and have the money for retirement that you would like to have? Like, because now the question is not, of the 400 different things you can do to be busy and productive, is there anything else you're looking into? Oh yeah, I love, fucking mini golf. No. Like, of the things that are going to make you a shitload of money and can be done without your physical capabilities, what is left? Now, he'll probably say nothing because you've narrowed down the question. And this is where you're narrowing it down, not from manipulation. You're narrowing it down because that's the facts, that his body might not be where it was before, and he needs to make a load of money to retire. Would have been good if we had that exact number as well. What is your number that you've set your sights on for retirement to live the life that you want to live in retirement? Oh, 5.5 million. Okay, so we're talking about trading. Is there anything else that you feel can get you to 5.5 million that you feel you could do even if your body doesn't fully recover post-stroke, that you would like to do? Is there anything else? Oh, no. Okay, fair enough. If you get the key pieces, the answer is probably nothing. Okay, all right, keep going.
And on my job, but I really like trading, so I'm hopeful that this would pan out and I could be a good trader.
It makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about, I think I'm definitely clear on really why this is so important right this second. But in terms of having that system, what do you feel like you're missing right now that's causing you to have all that consistency and then the last 2 months being stuck with a bunch of stocks that are just staying where they're at?
Well, I mean, I can always sell them and turn them into cash. I'm not stuck with anything. Everything's sold. I have had a couple stocks where the companies have gone bankrupt. So I have lost a little bit of, things that have become worthless, but they were all very small investments. So no big deal there. But I'm not quite sure I understand the question.
Yeah, my bad. So in terms of having a system that would allow you to feel confident that, okay, if I just stick to the system, I'm not going to have that pressure on me to not be able to retire. What do you feel like you would need in terms of a system at this point?
Do you mean money-wise? What do you mean need?
No, not in terms of money, but in terms of actually having trading be consistent for you. What do you feel like you would need the most help with that you're missing right now?
Well, the way you all describe the system sounds like you've learned to be able to time the market really well. So that's very exciting to me. I'd love to know exactly when to get in and then set an exit strategy and be able to walk away. That's extremely appealing. And it allows me to do a couple hours trading in the morning and then not have to think about it the rest of the day, which is very nice.
100%.
It's a real bummer to log on and go, oh no, things didn't go so well today. So that happens now and then, and it's been frustrating.
Oh, I understand that. So, okay, so other than timing and having clear exit strategies, is there anything else that you feel like you would really need help with at this point to be a profitable trader?
So the reason that you're struggling at this point in the call is how to word it? You're not using like these boundaries of data that you've already got in the conversation to make it much easier for you to get the answers that you're looking for. So I'll give you an example of those boundaries. So he's got $104,000, I think he said, in the market right now. He's down by something like 17K. He's got another 100K that he wants to put in, and he's got a previous quote unquote system of being overly optimistic. And I'm going to ignore the bits about like he could go back to his job and, does he fully recover from stroke? We'll leave all of that out for now. And where he wants to get to, so this is where he is. So in the market, you know, sat outside the market, current approach. Where he wants to get to is retirement, and we would have needed this number, retirement, 5.5 million. And so now, by looking at these boundaries, you can say to him, okay, let me ask you a question. You've got 104,000 in the market. You're down by 17,000. You've got another 100,000 that you would like to put in. And the way that you've previously been trading, you've now come to the realization was just simply overly optimistic. You didn't have a system. Where you want to get to is to be able to retire, having accomplished that reality through trading, and have $5.5 million in the bank, also in 5 years, and do that within 5 years. Is that accurate? Like where you're at now and where you want to get to? Yes. Do you believe that if you keep doing what you're doing with no additional outside system, that you'll be able to accomplish that? No. Got it. So if the answer is no, and you know that the thing that's missing is a system, what exactly do you need? When you say a system, what specifics do you need that would turn that no into a yes? Well, I need A, and I need B, and I need C. Got it. Why do you say those things? For this reason. Got it. Why, if you do you believe that we, us, are the people that can give you that thing? For this reason, this reason, this reason. Got it. So then my final question for you, Rick, well, I forgot what his fucking name was, Mr. Prospect, is how much longer are you willing to not have a system that includes A, B, and C that in your mind guarantees that with your current portfolio down, $100,000 that you're not willing to invest, and previously just an overly optimistic strategy, guarantees that you will never get to your retirement number of 5.5 million. How much longer are you willing to not have that system? Not another day. By actually piecing it all together and getting it all clear, you won't fumble the rest of the conversation. Does this make sense? Like lay out what you've got. You're down, you've got this money, your strategy was this. You want to get to here, this, at this amount, in this timeline, with what you've got right now on the table. If we don't give an injection of something else, whether it be money, time, mentorship, strategy, whatever, are you going to get there? No. Got it. Why not? Well, because as I said, I don't have a system. Okay, when you say you don't have a system for what? For this, and for this, and for this. Why, if you do you feel those things would be the magic source that would then get you with your 104,000 plus 100K to invest, get you to 5.5 or a high likelihood of getting there within 5 years? Why do you feel that? Well, because if I had this and this and this, then blank, blank, blank. Okay, makes sense. Why, if you do you feel like we're the people to give you those things? For this reason, this reason, this reason. Sorry, I've already done that question. Why us? For this reason, this reason, this reason. Got it. Now, what you could do, because this is your how much longer question, you could also do a turning point question here. Okay, got it. So you've realized that the overly optimistic approach that you've had right now lacks A, B, and C, which would be a system, and you feel that those things are critical for you to get to your 5.5 million retirement in the last 5 years, in the next 5 years. Was there any signature moment where you realized not just that, and listen to the way I'm phrasing this, guys, not just that you lost the money, but that you realized that the reason you lost the money was because you don't have those things, and that you won't be able to recover and make the money that you want unless you have those things? Yes, the turning point was 2 weeks ago. I prayed on it, or I had a conversation about my recovery from the stroke, or I had blank, blank, blank. Something happened. Oh, I see. And why was that the turning point for you? For this reason, this reason, this reason. Okay, got it. I'm clear on everything. Recap, recap, recap. How much longer are you willing to not have this thing, which you realized in the turning point moment, that is critical for this reason, that you know we can help you for this reason, that will take you from what you've got to where you want to get to? How much longer? Done. But if you're trying to like miss out some of the data points, you're asking these like throwaway questions, as opposed to them being very, very locked in with this, like, and that's what I was saying about boundary. this like boundary of like, this is the conversation. Like I've got everything I need within this box. Make sense?
Yeah. So essentially just bringing the data back up as opposed to trying to, I don't know if remember is the right word, but just throwing those questions out without any of the ammo behind it. If that makes sense.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
And Fiona, for your question, they're slightly different because one is asking about the variables that they need, and then the other one is asking why do they feel like we have those variables. You need both. Okay, so when you say you don't have a system for what? Finding the trades, timing the trades, exiting the trades, building my portfolio from low risk, medium risk to high risk. Okay, got it. So those are the things that you think you need, which with your 100K plus additional 100K, you think would get you to there. Is that accurate? Yes. Got it. Why, if you do you feel like our system is the one you need to give you those things? Well, because I saw in the video this, and I like the founder for this reason, and blah, 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 blah. Got it. That makes sense. And then that's it. And then you validate that, by the way, in the $1 million pitch. Yes, we did have that thing. And you say it all again in the $1 million pitch. Okay? All right, folks. Brian, that's enough of your call. You've got what you need. It's really tightening it up. Like the foundation of what you did on that call was very good. But you need to inject these like extra little pieces to really turn the dial up. And then that would have easily been a sale.
Yeah. And then just to make sure I lock that in, like what's the one biggest thing I should focus on to make that happen more?
Zooming out and seeing how it all connects.
Mhm.
Like it feels like you're very locked in on, okay, I need to get this piece of, let me change the color here. I need to get this piece of data and I'm going to ask the right questions about it. I then needed to get this, you pulled this out, but they feel isolated.
Mhm.
Whereas you need to be able to piece it all together by zooming out and seeing how it creates this transformational journey for him of going from here all the way up to what he wants and what that bridge is going to look like. So it's just you being able to zoom out. So zoom in to ask the questions, zoom in to get the details that you need, but then you have to keep zooming out and say, okay, I can zoom out and see the big picture here. That's your biggest one thing.
That makes sense. Thank you. That's great.
You're very welcome. Good call overall, though. All right, folks, we have one more call review. So who's the next one?
Cool.
Is it Jay? Yeah, go for
It
it.
is me.
All right. Share your screen, Jay. Off we go.
Can we do the full hour 45? I'm kidding.
No.
Took too long.
It's a
What
no
speed
sale.
You want me to
though,
start
right?
it out? What?
Was it a sale? Did you close it?
We couldn't figure out the finances to work at the end. He has to try to borrow money from his wife.
Do you believe him though that was genuine, or because
Yeah, he had less than.
If that's the actual reason, then I don't know if we need to review this call because essentially you made the sale. He just didn't have the money.
Well, I feel like it took too long to get. Yeah, I want to be able to condense my call.
All right, let's give it a go.
Should I start it out at 1x?
Do 1 point.
What's going on?
How are you?
Doing amazing. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Not too bad. What's your name?
My name is Jay.
Jay, right on. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Where are you calling from?
I'm in British Columbia in Canada.
Right on.
Yeah, whereabouts are you?
Down here in Pennsylvania in the States.
Oh, no way. Do you guys have much of a winter or?
It's like 70 degrees out right now. So
Oh, is it?
I'm kicking it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Cool. Well, I know we got a limited amount of time. You ready to jump in?
Yeah.
Cool.
I have a question for you. I'd love to start off with.
Yeah. So
I'm a film producer. I do a lot of business all throughout Canada and the States at times. And how do you guys, where do you guys make money in this whole process? Like, do you charge a commission for your students that go through learning about this, or how does it work for you guys?
So we can definitely get into all those details at some point in the call. What I like to do on this call is really dig in.
So it's an interesting one. This is one where you actually should just answer the question because he will, which is probably why it took you 1:45. I'll take a wild guess here. You probably had such great energy, if you keep this energy on this call, that he doesn't hang up the phone or he doesn't, just not answer your questions. which is why I would assume you're still able to get him to finally tell you the things that you need him to tell you, because your energy just stays rock solid, your frame control, your energy. But you would have got there much quicker, and he would have just opened up and told you the things if you just answered this question.
Okay.
Because the answer to the question is, well, this is a program, this is a service. So we charge for the system, for the knowledge, for the training, for the mentorship, and that's how we make money. That's it. That's
okay.
That's it. Like, why would you not just tell him that? Because it seems really weird that you're like, oh, I'll tell you at the end of the call. Especially think of putting yourself in his shoes. He is skeptical / unsure how you make money. Well, if you're so unsure about how we make money and you're like worrying, are we fucking scamming people? Are we drug dealers? Whatever. No, this is a business. We charge people for the training, the knowledge, the mentorship, the support, the community, and that's how we make money. Cool. Move on. Done. The answer is it's a business. We sell the training, the materials, and the course and the system, and that's it. Oh, I see. Okay. You see how much more streamlined that is in terms of the big picture of the sales call, that the prospect's now not sat there like trying to figure you out. Like, okay, this guy's got great energy. He seems super detached. He doesn't seem needy. He's asking me great questions, but it's pretty weird that he didn't just tell me how they make money. So this guy's going to be like in limbo for the next 15 minutes, at least. Could be for the next 45 minutes, which is why he doesn't really answer your questions. But because you're in
like
post-carbo energy, because you're still in that post-carbo energy, great energy, he's going to play ball with you, but he's going to be like in, out, like leaning in, leaning out, leaning in, leaning out. It's all because you didn't answer that fucking question. But you didn't know. You didn't know. Because in general, the rule of thumb is don't get into how the program works and how the system works. But how do you make money? We're a business. We sell the training, and that's how we make money.
Okay.
Does this make sense, guys?
Yeah. Can I ask a question here? So,
of course you can.
When instead of like steamrolling the guy, because I've had a couple instances where you try to talk over them to take back the frame, but then they try to talk over you. What's like that fine line that you have to in terms of, is there like, you don't want to have this constant battle, like actually letting them talk versus taking back control?
Great question. If they want to know a bunch of details, especially details that you would naturally get into later, the answer is no. If they just have like a very simple question, like I'll give you a few. The question that Jay just got, how do you make money? We're a business. That's it. That's the end of the question. We're a business. And then they might say, well, what do you mean? Well, we're a business. We sell training, which is what we're on the call for today. Training, services, mentorship, community, program. We sell that. That's how we make money. Make sense? Yes, done. Another one they might say is, what's your involvement in the business? Well, I'm an enrollment advisor. I'm a salesperson. I'm on it depends if you're actually on the back end team as well. You basically just say the truth. I'm the person that's, kind of on the front end of the business, gatekeeping the program, see if everything's aligned on this call. If you are, then I would essentially sell you a spot in the program if I feel like it's going to be a win-win. Make sense? Yes, done. Those are like two that you should just answer the question. If they're like, who are you? And you're like, well, we'll get into that later. They're not going to have a normal conversation with you if you say, we'll get into that later. It's so weird to be like, well, I'll tell you later on. By the way, I'm now going to ask you how much money you make.
Holy shit. This is exactly what happened. I didn't even think about this.
Which, by the way, is not a surprise that I was like, well, you ended up closing him anyway. Yeah, he didn't have any money, which is fair enough. But it's like, the issue of why it took too long was just that. Okay, we'll go through it anyway. We'll see what happens, but that's your issue. Is just answer that question. You won't run into this again. All right, let's see what happens.
So if they make real quick, if they make an attempt to cut you off and then you step in to try to cut them off, then basically if they talk over you again, you just let them talk. If that makes sense?
It's about what are they asking you. Like if you get on the call and they're like, yeah, I had a bunch of questions about the program. Absolutely. I guess then you say, absolutely. We'll get into all of that at the end of this call. If based on the first part of this conversation, we have alignment with, what you've got going on, what you want to accomplish. If they ask you the two I just gave examples of, how do you make money or who are you? You don't need any steamrolling back and forth. Depends how many times they try and cut you off. No, you just answer the fucking question.
I guess my question is in the first like split second where you try to grab the control back, but then and most of the time when you do that, they just roll with you and you go right into your framework. But sometimes you that in that split second, they like raise their volume even more to try to take it back. So at that point, you're saying let them ask whatever question they had. Because my point is like you're not going to hear the question. Like if you cut off in the first second, you don't even hear what their question is, and you keep going.
I see.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. Your intro and framing should have pauses in it anyway. And so there should be no, like, the both of you talking over the top of each other anyway. Like if I say, I know we've got a limited amount of time, you ready to jump in? And they say yes, you then say cool, and then you pause for a second. And the reason I'm saying this is when you pause, if they then start talking and say, oh yeah, so I had a question, you're not just going to raise your voice and talk over them. You'll hear what the question is and you let them finish. And then you say, yeah, that's a great question. We'll definitely get into that at the end of the call, blah, 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 blah. You shouldn't be raising your voice to talk over them because there should naturally be a few pauses in your intro and framing where they're either going to stay silent and let you lead them, or they're going to try taking control, in which case you see what they have to say.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense.
All right. Jay, let's roll.
I have a question if that's fine.
Go for it, Marius.
What if he now says like, if Jay were to answer that, like, yeah, we take a price for the system and for the knowledge. What would you answer if he then just immediately asks, well, how much is it?
At the moment, the price is 0, and that's because I don't have anything to sell you. If we find through the rest of this call, that it is a fit, we'll get into all the details as far as the investment.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Jay, keep.
Okay. And go deep on what exactly you've got going on in your career, finances, building an online business, and get clarity around what it is that you are looking to accomplish. And then if I feel like that is in alignment with what we've got going on over here with the Shadow Pages team, at that point, I can basically run you through all those details about, what we've got going on over here. If that sounds good with you.
Yeah, that's great. I'm Generation X, so I'm a little hesitant on sharing when it comes to like a lot of personal information, but I'm definitely willing to paint a picture for you of, what I'm into, and if we can make this work, that would be great. I mean, for me, it's.
I did take a look at your application and everything, so as far as those details, I'm clear. But it's the best place to start, and where I'm most curious is like, what is the biggest challenge you're having starting your own successful online business right now?
You know what? For me, I wouldn't say I've had a challenge in any way because I haven't actually looked at starting an online business. This is kind of new for me. So I've been in the film industry for decades, and what's happening with the film industry is quite widely publicated in terms of the accountants that come into the film industry and are really squeezing things. It's a lot harder to make films. So we now have chunks of time where we were in between making films. And what I'd love to do is accentuate that passion of mine, which is telling stories and making movies, with a side hustle of some sort. And I came across your one of your posts on Instagram, and I just was like, you know what, like, why not? Let's just do a little discovery, see if this is possible and what it's like, if it could fit as a good side hustle for me, because I'm a very creative person. Prior to making feature films, I worked a lot in commercial marketing. So I worked for big brands like Red Bull, Skull Candy, KTM, all of these brands. So I've got a marketing background as well. So I have a lot of creativity and ideas, and especially when it comes to starting Instagram pages, I have lots of ideas where I think there may be niches, but I just don't have the focus to really know the steps on how to go and start some shadow pages to see if I can get this side hustle going.
Okay, I gotcha. So right now, having been in the film industry for decades, you've got chunks of time because it's harder to make films right now, and you don't have the focus or the steps to actually get this started. This is new for you. Is that accurate?
I mean, to a certain degree, yeah. I said.
Is that too vague, Josh?
It's not too vague, and the fact that you paused and he carried on talking, you're starting to open him up. I think one thing that's more powerful is like, why does he really need a side hustle? Like, okay, you're doing these feature films. How many feature films have you got lined up in the next 90 days? 0. Okay, so if you've got 0 feature films lined up in the next 90 days, what source of income do you have in the next 90 days? Nothing. Okay, so you've got this 90-day period with no income for the next 90 days. I'm curious, how long have you been making films? 5 years. How many times in the last 5 years have you had an extended period where you don't have a project, feature film, and therefore no income? Oh, it's like every 6 months. So I'm curious, given that you've been running this cycle for the last 5 years of, 6 months at a time, not having any income, is this a side hustle passion project, or is this a necessity for you to actually be able to stay afloat financially? Yeah, it's a necessity. Boom. Whatever that was, fucking 6 questions, and then now the guy is in the palm of my hand. There's no like, oh, it's a fucking side hustle, man. It's like, fuck off. No, it's not. You're poor. And we know he's poor because you just told us at the end of the call he said he had no money. But I can see that straight away when he's like, oh, it's a side hustle and I've got feature films. Cool. Well, if you're working on the next fucking Avatar, we wouldn't be on this call, would we? Like, the guy'd be making fucking $250,000 if he's working on, some major fucking blockbuster. It's like he's either working on B or C or D grade movies, or he's working on A grade movies and he's the fucking door sweeper, or he's working on not enough movies. Like, what is your problem right now as a feature film person? What is your problem? And it's all got to boil down to one of 2 things: not making the money, or making a shitload of money but hates the experience of it. Otherwise, he wouldn't be on a call. We've got to get down to it. So what you said is not bad, but I just think there's a quicker way to get the conversation rolling. Okay, cool. So you work on feature movies. I'm curious, what is it about working on feature movies that instead of just focusing more on that, you want to do as you call it, a side hustle? Well, and he'll do one or 2 things. He'll either tell you the real reason, or he'll try again to say, oh, no reason really. Like, I love my job and the feature films are awesome. I just want to do something on the side. What is it that you can get on the side from a side hustle that you can't get from doing feature movies? Oh, well, money, fulfillment, less stress. So within 2 questions, we're getting there. And this is the same thing that I just said to Kimberly, as far as like, it's more questions around like, why not just do what you're doing, as opposed to why do you want to do a side hustle? One is trying to pull the prospect into what you need. And the other is like, I'm skeptical of you. And so I'm going to unqualify you unless you're going to prove to yourself that you're qualified. Okay. All right, let's keep going.
I'm still moving forward in the film industry. It's still my passion. It's still what I do full time. So I'm very busy. But
are you working on a film right now?
Right now, we get some films greenlit at the moment.
When was the last film that you were a part of?
Last year, we created a film. You shoot a film and then you go into the post production and then you do the market, or you do the sell to the distributors and that. So it's coming out this year in 2026. But it's the kind of situation where theaters are changing. There's not a return when it comes to people going to the movies and stuff like that. So it's just a way tougher industry, and I would love to find a way, whether it's shadow pages or
how many months ago was the last film that you worked on?
We shot in May of last year.
Okay. Well, so that's like
pause.
around, do quick math.
So you're playing a fine line, Jay, and I like, that you're leaning more on the side of just going for it than not. But let me think of a way to word this. If someone is really strong internally and they're a true leader, they don't have to puff up their chest and beat their chest to show that they're a true leader. You can feel that just through their stoicism. Whereas what you're doing is you're proving your strength through physical display, in the sense of cutting him off and talking over him and asking another difficult question, as opposed to letting your groundedness prove that. Okay.
So I want you to do what you're doing energetically in terms of like, you've got the power, you've got the strength, you've got the confidence, but do it from a place of measurement, as in like, you're not forcefully demonstrating it. And so as an example, instead of cutting him off, you can let him go on his little bleeding out ramble and talking all of his bullshit, and then pause. Okay. And then you ask a question, and the pause and the question will be the thing that dismantles his over-exaggerated confidence, rather than you trying to steamroll over his over-exaggerated confidence. Does that make sense? Like when you meet there's no part of that's trying to show off his muscles or talk loud or shout at anybody or whatever, but you fucking feel that he's the boss. You can just feel that. He doesn't need to display it or demonstrate it or shout it or, wear a fucking tight hugging, short sleeve t-shirt. You can just feel it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. How does that combine with the fact that I feel like if I'm like just knowing, like getting the read from this guy at the beginning, like from the beginning of the call, he seems like a, kind of ADHD all over the, like goes on rambles, can't like almost stay on track.
Your frame control by having those pauses and having the most powerful questions will dismantle that. You don't need to dismantle it by cutting over him. And that will be another reason that you're going to spend a lot longer trying to get him to really open up, is the way that you're approaching it. The way you're approaching it right now is you're going to ask a question that he can't deny, and so he's going to tell you the answer, which is painful. But the way you're doing it, he doesn't like the way you're doing it. You're getting this prospect to not like you, whereas what you should be doing is getting him to not like the question that you're asking. He doesn't like that question exposed the truth, but he doesn't have an issue with you. Even though you're the one that said the question, he can feel that it's the question that exposed the truth, not your energy and your demeanor and the fact that you're trying to walk over him. So like the question that should come out of your mouth next, and we'll see if you do, is when did you last get a paycheck from a movie? That question will dismantle him real fucking quick, because it will probably be a long time ago. If it's not, then I'll just come out with something else in a few minutes. He's trying to hide behind this thing of like, movies are my thing and movies are great and I'm doing great in movies. It's okay. So you worked on a movie a year ago. When did you last get paid for working on a movie? Oh, that was a year ago. So you've had no source of income for a year. How many years have you been in the film industry? 10 years. How many times have you run this same cycle? Every year. So every year you film a movie and then you don't get paid again for another 12 months. How big are the pay packets? It's like 150. So you only earn 150 every year. And in between those pay packets, you're not doing anything to generate active income. So my question for you, fucking no shoes, whatever his name is, like how much longer are you happy with 150,000 a year? All right, let's keep going, Jay.
10 months ago.
Yeah, about 10 months ago. Wow.
Yeah. So, right now we're doing kind of like a film a year. And we're trying to do 2. But it's just hard. The financing side of things is difficult, very challenging with the way banks are these days and that sort of thing. So I need some sort of a side hustle. And with my background in creativity and marketing, I was like, wow, maybe this might work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
Pause.
When you're like on that last.
So like he's getting there, but you have to ask the next question. Why do you need a side hustle? You and him and all of us on this call know that the thing in between the lines is I need a side hustle because I need the money. But he didn't say that. It can't be in between the lines. Things can't be, what's the word? Things can't be implicit, which means implied. They have to be explicit, which means they literally said it out loud. So your next question has to be, okay, so you say, you work on a movie. It's about a year between a movie. The movie industry is getting more difficult. And you said you need a side hustle. Need a side hustle for what? Well, for money. I see. Okay. And then now he's actually gone on record and said it.
Yeah, I can remember asking that question, but now I can't remember if it's here or not. So,
all right, let's see.
Last film that you finished wrapping up in May, how long are you guys shooting for?
Generally, yeah, good question. Generally, we shoot for like a month to 6 weeks. So this is
So on that last project, how much are you working for?
in terms of how many months total, or
Yeah.
well, that one was an interesting one because we shot for 6 weeks. Then we came back, we had a look at what we had captured, and then we did another 3 shoots after that were only like a week long. So in total, it's 2 to 3 months to make the film, and then you're editing and
Are you doing the editing and the post-production?
One of my partners is our editor, and then I help with a lot of the post-production as well. So it's kind of like one of those jobs that has flexibility to a certain degree, right? Because you have a real busy time of whether that's a month or 2 months where you're on set all day long and they're really intense days. But then after that, you're just chipping away and you're kind of, so there's free time within that. So, for me, I would say if we're making 1 movie a year, I've got 9-10 months of the year where I have flexibility in my schedule.
What are you doing with that time right now?
Pause. Okay, good question. He's trying to rationalize it as flexibility in my schedule. No, motherfucker. You've got 9 months where you don't earn anything. But that's what we need to get him to talk about. It's not 9 months of flexibility, because it's like, okay, cool. So when you say 9 months of flexibility, like let's say you wanted to live off 25,000 a month, that would be 300,000. Do you earn about 300,000 for each movie that you do once a year? Oh, no. Now, you wouldn't say it that way, but you get the point. It's like the issue isn't that he's got 9 months of flexibility. The issue is that he's not making enough money so that those 9 months a year, he can't just go to the Bahamas and just chill on a fucking beach. He's trying to hide behind this bullshit story of, oh, I'm a creative guy and I would just like a creative side project to do some Instagram pages. No, you're not rich enough to enjoy the 9 months off. Now, the question you're asking now is a good one. It's like, well, what do you, although you phrased it slightly wrong, it shouldn't be what do you typically do? It's what did you do for the 9 months that you just had off? But the right direction of the question.
What do you do? Okay.
Yeah. What did you, okay, so if I'm getting this right, between your last movie, filming, shooting, working on it, you've had 9 months flexibility in your schedule. I would use his words, but I'd raise my eyes like that to kind of be like, yeah, motherfucker, I know what that means, but I'll play along with your little game. So you had 9 months flexibility in your schedule. What exactly did you do for those 9 months? Okay. All right, let's keep going.
Well, I take care, it's a number of things I do, but my wife's a lawyer, so I'm her life assistant, and I help her with a lot of things in that legal field, as well as our home and all that kind of thing. I'm a big avid outdoor enthusiast, so I do a lot of snowboarding, mountain biking, hiking, all of that kind of stuff. So I try to balance my life with the intensity of the film world. So when I'm not working super intense, I make sure I'm getting outside and being healthy.
So that sounds like a good time. Why not just keep doing that and delve more into those interests that you have?
I mean, I've been doing it for I'm in my 50s, so I've been doing it for 3 years.
Question,
and I'm still it's a fountain of youth, right? There's some recent studies that have come out that action sports in general, if you get
exactly like why not continue to do that for like what you've been doing for decades, like outdoor sports, whatever it is that you're interested in, like why not just fill up your time with that instead of like a side hustle or an online business?
Oh, I mean, that's a good question. I'm definitely not, wouldn't say I'm stopping or slowing down in the outdoor pursuits. I'll give you an example. I'm probably going to go snowboarding this afternoon, but it's not that that's changing in any way, or I want to reduce that side of my life. It's more about introducing an additional income stream.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Why is that important for you to have an additional income stream?
Okay, pause. So you got the truth. You can't ask why is it important, because we know this guy is just going to tell you some fucking weird story about be nice, this, that, whatever. Okay, got it. So it sounds like, despite the fact that you like snowboarding and doing these adventure activities, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you need, because you said need before, another source of income on top of your source of income with your films. Is that accurate? Yes. Got it. How much did you make last year from movies? How much did your wife make? Got it. How much do you need to top up your income by with a side hustle? Okay, so let's go hardcore data mode now rather than why do you need more money? It's too much of a etheric question. Okay, all right, keep going.
The way the film industry is changing, I'm trying to look into the crystal ball a little bit, and I don't want to get another 3, 4, or 5 years down the road and should have started something 5 years ago, say, where I'm like, oh, it would have been, if I would have started something a few years ago, I would have a side income just in case something really changes in the film industry. So for example, we have AI is affecting every business. We're all using it. It's heavily affecting the film industry. So I don't know if 5 years down the road, my career in film is going to drastically change. So I'd love to have another business opportunity or something that I'm building alongside film to see if I can get some additional money coming into the house.
Has your profession drastically changed in the last 5 years?
Not yet, but I would say.
Not a bad question, but you should have given a shorter timeline. Okay, and contextualize the question. Okay, fair enough. So you're talking about somewhere 5 years away. Could happen, could not happen. To what degree it happens, I guess nobody has a crystal ball. Has your, and again, you've got to contextualize it in income. It's not just has your career changed. It's, okay, so you mentioned that the reason that you need a side hustle is income. Has your income changed, possibly because of AI, in the last 12 months compared to the previous 4 years? Notice the contextualizing of the question. It's not, has your job changed? Has your career changed? Has your industry changed? No. Has your income changed? And the likelihood, the answer is yes. It's not, oh, it might change in the future, but it currently hasn't changed. I don't believe that. Okay, so we've got to contextualize the question in that sense. All right, Jay, keep going.
Should I pick up the speed? Because we're...
Yeah, sure.
In the next, like it's starting to happen now. So in the next year or two, I can see things starting to change where I'll give you an example. There's quite a famous filmmaker who's shooting a film currently, and he's no longer going to locations to shoot the film. They're just shooting it, like, say, on a green screen now and using AI to build the world. We've seen that with the Marvel movies and that sort of thing, but things are really changing in the film industry right now. And so I just want to be prepared that if something does happen in the next, 2, 3, 5 years.
When did you see these changes starting to take place as far as, going from shooting 2 movies a year to 1 movie a year? Like, when did that start to become something that you started to take notice of?
I think it's kind of starting to happen now. It hasn't really crept in, and I'm trying to, be proactive and not just sit here and kind of let it.
Well, because, I mean, if you did a movie 10 months ago and you did 1 film for the year, how many films did you do for the year in 2024?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so I've been doing 1 film a year for the last, I want to say 5 years now, 4 years. And our goal is to get to 2 films a year.
Was there a point where you were doing 2 films a year?
No, prior to producing feature films, I was working for a company that it's called Specialty Camera. So we were capturing a lot of the stunts that happen in films and television shows. So have you ever seen the cars that drive around with the crane on top of the car with the camera on the end? And
yeah.
That kind of stuff, and drones and all of those kind of fancy toys. So I worked for a company that was doing that. They're the #1 company in Vancouver. I was doing that for a while. Prior to that, I was working in the action sports world, so doing a lot of producing and production in that.
Okay, but since you've got into the role that you're in right now, you've been doing about 1 film a year. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what tells you this year that, if you're going to do another film in 2026, that things are changing, and what's really become actually apparent for you to be, as you said, proactive?
Pause. Think big picture. If the guy was doing 3 films a year and he was making $100K from each film, and AI comes along, nobody has a crystal ball, but the guy believes it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better for him. It's going to get worse. If he was doing 3 films a year and next year he goes down by a film, how does that compare to doing 1 film a year and going down by 1? If he earns 300K over 3 films and he goes down by 1, he'll still make 200K. But if he's only doing 1 film a year and AI fucks him, he has 0 income. You have to understand that context. Okay, so what I'm hearing is you only do 1 film a year. You've wanted for 5 years to get up to 2, but so far that hasn't happened. So with all due respect, you can't bank on that. And it sounds like AI is making it more risky that you would still have the business, the work that you have right now. And if I'm understanding this correctly, given that you've only done one film a year for the last 5 years and that's your current run rate, if AI did change something, you could go from one film a year down to 0, which means you would have 0 income. Is that accurate? Yes. That is a very different conversation to, there's a word for it. I can't remember the exact word, but it's basically like all of your eggs are in one basket. All of his income is in one film a year. That is not good. He doesn't get paid monthly. He gets paid for one job. It might get divvied out to him monthly, but if that one job disappears, he has no income. You being able to connect those dots and showing that you get it is very important on this call.
In my mind, I'm thinking, well, if it's been one film a year for the last 5 years, it hasn't been enough of a problem for him to do anything different. So that, like, I feel like that's where my mind is headed. Like, I know I haven't asked about the income yet, but it's like, yeah, I guess I don't understand like why this is like a problem right now. Has it not been a problem for the last 5 years?
You're right that it's not enough to make a sale because it's a future thing. But I just want you to see the context of if he's going to say the stuff about, AI could make it worse. It's not AI could come along and mean that you make less money. It's AI could, like, he could wake up tomorrow and receive an email that says your job is now going to be done with an AI. And he
you're saying I'm
no
missing.
income.
You're saying I'm missing like this, like obvious horrible thing. Like, oh, you're right. If AI comes in, you have no income, and I'm just like,
You're just not seeing
that.
how that context of the fact that he only has one job a year makes it so much worse. But you're right that it's not going to make a sale because that's still, well, hypothetically, AI could not replace you. So we still need to get context of why right now is an issue. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. Let's keep going.
It's on the financing side. So it's harder to get a film greenlit. You know what I mean? So it's harder to get a film financed just with the way the banks are clamping down, the way, even if you have, I'll give you an example, even if you have.
But why, but is that like going to prevent you guys from doing another film this year, or like what are you finding right now?
We're hoping to, I mean, we're slated to do a film in September right now, but we're trying to do a film. I'll give you an example. We were planning on shooting a film this spring and shooting a film in the fall. That's kind of our goal every year. Because more than 2 films a year is kind of too much. It's a lot of work spread out over months, right? So in trying to get our film greenlit this spring, we have come up against some challenges with the way the industry is, the way distributors are working with finished films, the way financing is happening. Even if you have a big star attached to your film, there's just a lot of things that are starting to really squeeze down on the industry. And so for me, I don't want to just sit back and go, oh, okay, well, now what? I'd rather be proactive and get something else going on the side, just in case it reduces even further.
Is there any other element or anything else that you would add to?
Also notice the inconsistency. He's done one film a year for the last 5 years, and he just said 2 seconds ago, we try and do 2 films a year. So what I'm not clear on, Mr. Prospect, is you said that for the last 5 years, you've only done 1 film a year, but you just said that you try and do 2. Why is it that when you try and do 2, it typically only ends up being 1? Now watch this, guys. Oh, I see. So typically 50% of the films that you attempt to do don't make it through. Is that accurate? Yes. Okay, got it. And you just said that you've already found that the 2 attempted films that you were going to do, you've now had issues with one of them. So right now you only have 1 attempted film. And if the track record is half of the films that you're supposed to do don't make it, and now instead of having 2, you only have 1, there's a likelihood that you end up with 0. Does that make sense? Normally every year he puts 2 films on the board. One of them doesn't go past the green light, but they end up doing 1. This year, they've only got 1 film on the board. Well, if the track record is that for every 2, only 1 gets done, if there's only 1 on the board, there's quite a high likelihood that it ends up being 0, which is why he's on a call right now. But you need to tell him through understanding the data, you get it, which is also telling him, like, don't fuck around. Like, I'm piecing this together, and if you try again to try and downplay it, I'm just going to get off the call. You don't say that with actual words. You demonstrate that through your accuracy of getting all this data together. They realize, like, shit, like, this guy's piecing everything together, or this gal is piecing everything together very, very well. Okay? All right, Jay, keep going a bit more.
Aside from just having something as like a backup plan as to like why we are on this call right now,
Like, was there another business that I was thinking of or something? Is that what you mean?
No, is it like it? I don't know. I just kind of get the feeling that, of course it's important to be proactive, but I'm just curious if like, if there's anything going on right now as to, something that you want solved. Like, is there any way that you're being like immediately impacted, or like anything going on for you personally right now as to, why you actually, want to commit to something like this?
Well, I think it's the income side of things. Life is expensive. Everything's getting more expensive, food, you name it. And for me, it's just about having an extra income stream, because the film industry, like, there's no guarantee. Once you make a film and then you get it to a distributor and then it goes out into the Netflix world or Apple or wherever it goes, there's no guarantee you're getting a return. And I think that's a lot of misconceptions that people have. They think, oh, you make a movie and then all of a sudden, you get checks for years. And that's not really the way it works. It's actually really hard to make a good return, especially with theaters quieting down. And
so how do you get paid?
Well, we get paid through making the film. So we give ourselves a wage to make the film.
So if he says, it's hard to get a good return, your next question, how you get paid is okay. We're getting there, but I would have just said, okay, so you said it's hard to make a return. You did one movie last year. What did you personally take home as far as a return on that movie? 100,000. Got it. What are your current monthly expenses? 10,000. What does your wife earn? Blank. So what I'm hearing is that the amount of money you make wouldn't even cover your expenses. Obviously, as a joint household income, you've got enough to cover your expenses with a little bit more. But it sounds like you're making half the income of your wife. AI is coming around the corner. You've only got one job a year. You don't know when you do a job if you're going to make a return. Plus the fact that AI is coming, you might not even have a job. Correct me if I'm wrong, but aside from the fact that you love your job and you're passionate about movies, it sounds like a terrible financial situation. Yes. Got it. Okay. All right. Keep going.
For the last film, what wage did you pay yourself?
Well, it was between $50,000 and $100,000.
And does that get paid out over time, or do you get that paid out like as you're going through production?
Total? Or like a month? You have to ask that, because that's fucking nothing. And notice how, easily he can slip away from it, because you didn't say, hang on, for the whole movie total, you make 50 grand and you do one of the, and then you connect it and you do one of these a year. So you earned $50,000 to $100,000 a year for the last 5 years. And you've attempted to do 2 movies, which would obviously double that, but that's been unsuccessful. And AI is coming around the corner and your wife's whipping you. No, don't say that. Right? Like, just keep stacking it. So he's screwed. All right, keep going.
Yeah, good question. It's more based around when the production's happening. So then if you get a chunk of money, then all of a sudden you're waiting for your next film. You can have a series of 8 to 10 months without any income. So there's a big.
Very important that you reframe him from you can have blank, blank, blank to I had that situation. He cannot say you can have a situation where it's 8 or 9 months. Interesting. How long was it since you last got paid? 9 months. What about the year before? 9 months. What about the year before? Is that every year you have one pay packet, 50 to 100,000, and then you don't get paid for the rest of the year? Yes. Are you willing to continue living like that financially? No. Was there a turning point for you? Yes. What was it? Right, like, lock the fucker down with these questions. Keep going.
In my role, because I'm an independent film producer, I don't work for a big studio.
Yeah.
You get a ton of money, and then you've got to make that money last for many months, depending on when your next film happens.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, how much did you actually bring home in 2025?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, like
in total.
If I'll just use the arbitrary numbers, but let's say I made 50,000 on my last film.
Did you do you know in total what you have brought home from that film specifically so far?
Well, with taxes and everything else that's involved, I'm doing my year-end tax actually right now, so I don't actually have that number. That's why I kind of would.
Do you have a ballpark what it is before? Like,
so let's say I made 50 grand. If I'm.
Well, what as you're going to do taxes, what do you actually like? Was it 50 grand? Was it 100 grand? Like, what are you going to have to be like deducting with taxes? Like, what is the total?
Yeah, it's 50 generally. We try and pay ourselves 50 grand.
Well, you try and pay yourself 50 grand. Like, what was it in total?
Let's just call it 50 grand. Yeah, because
Is that the real number? I'm just noticing it's kind of hard for you to give an exact number.
Well, I like I said to you at the start of this call, I'm Generation X. I don't share intimate details about my finances and things with people.
Pause. Your generation broke, not Generation X. Don't say that. Right? Like he can keep saying, you know, like, oh, I'm generation this and generation that. I hear you, but you're also on a phone call about possibly making more money. In order to know where you're at and where you want to go and if it's a fit, I need to know the specifics. If you want to give me arbitrary numbers, then I'll give you arbitrary information about our program and an arbitrary price. We don't have an arbitrary conversation. We have a real conversation. If that's something you're willing to have, awesome. If it's something you're not willing to have, that's perfectly fine, but we wouldn't go any further in this call. Very calmly, just lay down the line. Okay? All right, keep going.
Yeah, I don't know who you are. I don't know if we're going to continue this. I'm not going to tell you the exact number that I made last year. That's just the type of person that I am. So giving you an exact number is not really the way I go. It's not. It's, if you were a friend and you live down the street, you'd know my personality. So I'm not going to give you an exact number, but I'll give you a kind of ballpark of what we do and how we make it work. So let's say we pay each other, like I have partners in this whole film industry. If we pay each other $50,000, it's not because we think that we're worth that. It's basically all we can afford because we're putting all the money into the movie,
Pause.
right? To try and make the best movie.
There's the real pain point. Slipped out as a little Freudian slip. It's not that that's what we're worth. If you thought you were worth more, wouldn't you pay yourself more? If you were worth more, wouldn't you be earning more? So my question for you is, how much longer do you want to only be worth $50,000 a year? That's the real thing. He's trying to hide behind saying, I'm this fucking, you know, top G movie producer, movie whatever. You know, he's like trying to say that I have this level of value in life or this level of worth, but my income is here. You need to have the real conversation with him of, are you willing to admit that you earn the amount of money that is a reflection of what you are worth? If you don't want to admit that to yourself, get off the call. If you earn, and I've said this to you guys, and this is the difference, is a real leader, a real mentor will say the uncomfortable truth. I've said this to you, and you can happily say this on a sales call, or you've got to be calibrated, is like, if you are earning $10,000 a month right now in commissions inside the Unicorn Closer Mastermind, you are a 10K a month human being. You're not a fucking 100K a month person. You just happen to be making 10 grand. You haven't provided a mass amount of service to the world. You haven't done the inner transformation to become more as a person. You haven't gone on the long road. You don't have standards of excellence, and you are worth $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month. Hate me for saying it, but it is the fucking truth. Him trying to say, oh, we pay ourselves $50,000, but not because we're only worth $50,000. Well, if you're worth more, why don't you pay yourself more? That would be my next question. Well, if you're worth more than 50,000, why don't you pay yourself what you're worth or what you think you're worth? Well, because we're not earning enough money to do that. Do you think you earn the amount of money that's a reflection of the worth that you're providing to the world? Or do you think the world is some corrupt system where you're worth $1 million, but you're being scammed and you're only earning 50 grand? He has to have that real conversation about choosing, and he can choose either way. You earn the amount of money that you're worth or not. Which one do you believe? That is the real conversation. It just slipped out in this tiny little fucking Freudian slip. We're not paying us 50 grand because that's what we're worth. Well, then why don't you pay yourself what you're worth? Can't. Would you not be able to pay yourself what you're worth if you were worth that amount of money? Well, he's not going to buy, he's not going to put in the work, he's not going to actually become the next level version of himself unless he realizes that his current worth as a human being is 50 grand a year. You can't earn more money until you can accept that you're earning the amount of money that you deserve to be making right now. It's the first step. Does this make sense, guys?
Yeah. Can we go back and watch that again? I missed it.
Yeah. I know you all missed it. Yep. Go back, Jay.
So we're paying, so I'm not going to give you an exact number, but I'll give you a kind of ballpark of what we do and how we make it work. So let's say we pay like I have partners in this whole film industry. If we pay each other $50,000, it's not because we think that we're worth that. It's basically all we can afford because we're putting all the money into the movie, right? To try and make the best movie we can to give ourselves a chance at success and selling it and having people enjoy watching the movie. So we're paying ourselves a bare minimum to make these movies.
It's fucking bullshit. So why does a movie get to pay Chris Hemsworth $1 million to be in the movie, or Tom Cruise? He's trying to hide behind this bullshit rationalizing of like, we reinvest the money back into the movie. Well, why don't you make a better fucking movie then that makes more money and you can pay yourself $500,000 a year? Obviously your movies are, don't say this, but obviously your movies are shit, which means that after you want to pay your expenses and do whatever, there's only 50 grand left for each of you. So you got to have that real conversation of, so you're saying you're reinvesting the money back into the movie, but like, what about actors that get paid millions to be in a movie, or producers and directors that earn millions to produce or direct the movie? Why aren't you able to do that? Well, he'll have to come out with something. Well, I don't know. Well, why do you think? You said that you're worth it. So why are you not earning what you're worth? Why are you not paying yourself what you're worth if that's what you truly believe? You see, like, this is a great conversation for you guys to all self-actualize, as far as like you being able to navigate this type of call is like you being able to navigate self-actualizing, because you have to be able to understand the principles of self-actualizing, which is you earn the money that you deserve to be earning. It'll be very difficult for you to say that to the prospect or challenge the prospect on that if you haven't also accepted that reality in your own life. If you're earning $10,000 a month and you've accepted that you're earning what you deserve to be earning, and you've decided, right, shit, I need to get my shit together, I need to lock in, I need to put in more work, you could have that conversation with this prospect. If you're earning $10,000 a month and you haven't looked yourself in the mirror and said, I'm earning what I deserve to be earning, you won't be able to have this conversation with the prospect, because you can't have a conversation with someone that's more honest than the conversation you've had with yourself. On that note, folks, that's a good place to end. It's about understanding the real conversation, folks. That real conversation is this guy is trying to hide behind the most painful thing that he's now realized, which is he's earning what he deserves to be earning.
I thought I got into like a real conversation after that, but this is way more powerful.
And then your turning point, by the way, is the turning point about, if he's willing to admit it prior, when did you realize and come to that acceptance that you're earning the money you deserve to be earning, and that amount of money is not the amount of money that you're willing to settle for? He'll probably say something connected to his wife. Well, you know, blank weeks ago, you know, it was our kid's birthday, and, you know, I realized that my wife's buying all the presents and I felt bad about that.
Okay, yeah, they have separate finances.
Yeah, that's part of the context, but you got to know a turning point. What was the turning point? If they've had separate finances for the last 5 years, then it doesn't really matter. What has shifted, that having been in denial and telling yourself, I've got to train on something in a sec, and telling yourself that, you know, you don't earn more money, not because you don't deserve to, but because of X, Y, and Z reason. What was the turning point when you realized that you are actually earning the money that you deserve to be earning? You need to get that out of him as well. The thing that I realized I need to train on, by the way, important for you to understand, is because it's a bit of a juxtaposition. Sales call, before the sales call, after the sales call. When someone booked in for the sales call, this prospect, he had the realization of what we could simply call the incongruence of like, shit, I'm actually earning the money that I deserve to be making. Subconsciously and partly consciously, he's already had that realization, which is why he booked the sales call. But then on the sales call, he will still be telling you and himself the rationalization that he'd actually already overcome. And you have to realize this juxtaposition, because what essentially happens is, if we draw like a little graph here, so this is time. Oh, shit. And this we'll call truth, the line of truth, which, by the way, is calibration level 200 on the levels of consciousness. So I'll put 200 there. You can be above truth, or you can be below the line of truth. So you're rationalizing to yourself, you're lying, you're making excuses, or you've accepted honestly the cold, hard truths. Okay. What happens is people's way of showing up fluctuates. So they're below truth, then they're above truth, then they're below truth, then they're above truth, and so on and so forth, and blah, 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 blah. It's not just like, oh, I'm always above or I'm always below. It goes up and down and up and down. What you're trying to do, which is why I said when the guy booked in, or let's say before the sales call, he was below truth. Then he had a turning point moment, which he then procrastinated on before booking a sales call. But there was a turning point moment that brought him into truth. Then he turns up to the sales call and he's back down below truth again. And he's down here. And he's down here for the sales call until you get to the truth and you expose the truth and you hold him accountable to the truth. And at this point, he has a decision. He can either stay below truth and get off the sales call and just continue to rationalize, or on the sales call, he can go above truth again. But this time, in this category of his life, if he buys at the end of the program, he will stay above the line of truth in this area of his life. Does this make sense? Right? So they were in denial. Then they had a turning point and they realized they need to do something. Then they turned up to a sales call and they're back in rationalizing again. And they'll stay in there for the first 1 to 10 minutes, depending how long it takes you to get there, until you hold that fucking mirror up to them. And at that point, they have a choice. Go this way or go this way. And the reason I share this is I don't want you to get confused thinking, well, how could they have realized the truth already when they booked the sales call, but then now they're back into rationalizing? That's just because as human beings, we go up and down and up and down. We're honest with ourselves, we're dishonest. We're honest, we're dishonest. We're honest, we're dishonest. Your job is to try and get the prospect through that permanent change of they're going to finally be honest about this area of their life and make a change. And they're going to consummate that new decision with an investment. When they put this money on the fucking line, they have now gone, you could call it like a one-way direction, as opposed to going up and down, up and down. They've now gone through a one-way direction of they've come up to truth, they've consummated that truth with a $10,000 investment, and now they stay in the truth. And this is also why, by the way, you should have the belief, and it's proven scientifically, that when someone puts money on the line, they actually stay on the right path. It's why when things are free, they watch free content, they accept the truth. They watch more free content, they're still in rationalizing. They watch more free content, they're accepting the truth. And it's up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Whereas when you put money into something, you hold yourself accountable to staying above the line of truth and not falling back into rationalizing. Is this clear? It's why you should be actually very happy about taking someone's money, because it's in their best interest. You taking their money is you serving the prospect, because now they're going to stay up here. They're not going to fall back down again. It's why you should be disappointed in yourself when you don't get money out of someone for something, because you're like, shit, fuck. They've come up and they're going to fall back down again. You taking their money is serving them. Just like you investing money to be here as opposed to continuing to watch free content on YouTube has served you, because you are now committed to turning up to these calls, to putting in the work, to actioning the items, to doing the things that you need to do. It's because you put money in. It's because you put money into it. That's why the turning point for a lot of people is actually fucking putting skin in the game. Okay. All right. Dr. Chloe.
Wait, Josh.
Sorry, that's Jay. Yeah, go ahead.
So do you feel like my problem was that, or like a deeper thing is that I haven't looked at my income and thought that this is what I deserve, 10K a month? Or like, is this something I just didn't notice? Because I mean, I definitely deserve to be earning 10K a month, like currently.
So what I said was not, and it's a great question, but what I said was not, you won't notice it until you've been honest with yourself. I said specifically, you won't be able to challenge the prospect on the thing if you haven't looked at it yourself. Why you didn't notice it, I don't know, Jay. Well, actually, I do know. The reason you didn't notice it is because you were in a state where you were in a very solid state, but you were in a state of force versus power,
where your solidarity to your state was like, I can only explain it with the metaphor that I said before of like, you're the guy that's proving you're strong by puffing up your chest, as opposed to, I know I'm strong and I don't need to prove anything. The state that you're in of like cutting the guy off and over talking to him and like bang, 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 like with your questions, that meant that you didn't actually see the very simple opening of him saying, you know, I'm not paying myself this because I don't deserve more money. If you had a silent mind and your power, oh, here's a way to view it. If your power is coming from being loud, it is force. If your power is coming from being silent, it is real power. Now, it doesn't mean you never speak it. It's metaphorical. If you're silent inside, you're stoic inside, that's where real power comes from. UM's power doesn't come from the fact that he's got a loud mind and he's shouting and he's loud and he's, you know, puffing his chest up. His real power comes from the fact that his mind is silent. Does this make sense?
Yeah, I guess it just kind of hurts because I thought this was I thought that was like the opposite feedback I was gonna get. So it's like, it does make sense.
Do you believe it? The feedback?
A little break in.
I think I like don't want to believe it because I felt like coming out of Cabo, like I did feel a lot of power, and I still. I don't want to sound like Christian, but like I still feel like I do. But I guess there still is like a moment like this, and like there's still areas where Let
me explain it in another metaphor. Let's use the metaphor of you've got a person, and these are different evolutions of the same person, okay? There's a person that is sad. That is their state. That is their energy, okay? Level 2, so this is level 1. Level 2, the person is always walking around smiling, cracking jokes, being the jester, and they are happy. But the reason that they're happy is because externally they're wearing the happiness. They're consciously trying to tell themselves to always smile, to always be laughing, to always be personable, to always be friendly. And then there's this person I want you to view this like facial expressions. Okay, so this person is like this. This person is like this. All right. And then the third person, their facial expression externally, the mask that they're wearing is just neutral, but they're actually happy inside. But they don't need to smile all the time. They don't need to be cracking jokes. They don't need to be talking to people all the time. They're actually just happy, and so their face, they don't need to be demonstrating it. And this is
but I love cracking jokes and like talking to people all the time, you know?
But it's where it's coming from is what matters. Are you cracking jokes because you're trying to be that person that people expect you to be the person that you think people are going to like, be the person that will get validation or attention or approval, versus if you've met if you meet in person and on the live course, you can see it, he cracks jokes, he laughs, he smiles, but zero part of him is doing it from a place of neediness, from a place of trying to be that person for other people or even for himself. He just makes a joke because he feels like making a joke, as opposed to this like necessity to do it.
Because this is actually making so much sense because like I feel like a big shift for me was not trying to have everything perfect all the time. And I found that like when I went back to cracking more jokes, being fun, like even listening to like comedy podcasts like that brought out a better version of me. And so when I kind of realized that, oh, that's who I need to step back into and stop trying to be perfect all the time, I was like, okay, this is the thing. I need to keep on doing that and that like to lock it in or like stay there. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of what's going through my mind.
Yep. And so now let's map it over to what you just did on this sales call. Okay. There is level 1,
which is the weak J. Okay. There is level 2, which is the strong J. And you're putting on this like character of cutting off the prospect and, you know, not literally, but flexing your muscles, blah, blah, blah. And then there's level 3, where you're also the strong J, but your strength is coming from internal and silence, or what we would say is power, versus here, your strength was coming from your voice, like speaking over the top of the person, cutting him off, and it was coming from force. So I wanted to demonstrate it just using a simpler version, which is sad and happy. But have you ever seen those people that they're trying to be the strong person? Not literally, but like they want to be seen as the leader. They want to be seen as the person that's got the authority. But then real people that have real authority, they don't even need to demonstrate it. Does this make sense?
Yeah, what's the word? It's like playing like an amplified version of me.
Correct. Wanting to look as the cool person rather than just being cool as a cucumber on the inside.
So this is like ego, right? Because I'm
correct.
Like I feel like I hate it. Like I was really upset and had like a lot of shame about myself. I think like a couple months ago, like in the fall, like even like when I was on the live training, I felt so bad about myself. And so I feel like I've found like that.
As we say, the pendulum was swung over here, you know, sad or bad, whatever. Now you've swung the pendulum over here.
I love myself too much.
Overcompensation, as Jeremy just said the great word there. And you need to bring it to here, to the middle. And so you're asking, like, how did you not see the thing where the prospect said, oh, I'm paying myself 50,000, but it's not because I only deserve 50,000. You won't see those things if your energy is too low or your energy is too high. Not too high, not too low. You'll only see things if you're in the middle and you're completely still. Make sense?
Yeah. Thanks for pointing this out, Josh. I'm gonna watch this again.
You're very welcome. And one thing for all of you to do in your own lives, guys, but don't do it from a place of judgment. Do it from a place of you being able to discover more about yourself. Look at other people outside of you and look for specifically this person. When someone's sad, they're just sad. They just have low energy. If someone's a weak person, they're just weak. They have weak energy. What you want to start developing your ability to spot is frauds, including yourself. Because through the journey, the stepping stone for you to be able to get to authentic happiness and authentic strength is realizing when you're being the fraudulent version of that. Now, let me just quickly pull something up to show you. And this is men only, but I assume it would be the same for women.
Josh, is this where imposter syndrome stems from as well?
Correct. Correct.
Makes sense.
So let me share some with you because there's a great way to be able to see this metaphorically. Share screen. So there's a great book called The King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, which talks about the 4 different archetypes. King, warrior. It's actually, the book is actually King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. That's the book. You could definitely read this as a woman. I think they would be exactly the same as far as the abstraction of the different archetypes. And it talks about the 4 different archetypes that a man can fall into. The archetype of the king, the warrior, the magician, the lover. And the fully integrated man is going to have access to all 4 of these archetypes. The king archetype, the warrior archetype, magician, and lover. The underdeveloped version of all of these different archetypes has overcompensation or undercompensation variations, which are these. So let me zoom in. Oh, shit. Zoom out. Zoom in. And so that's exactly what I was just saying before. So let's look at one. The king in his fullness. Okay? That comes from the divine child. which evolves into the king. And so the king in his full completeness is just in the king archetype, the king energy. If he is underdeveloped in his king energy, he's going to be a weakling. He just doesn't have any strength. He's just weak. If he's overdeveloped in his king energy, he becomes a tyrant, a dictator. And this is where, if you look at movies, you see the king that is overdeveloped will be Scar in The Lion King. It will be Loki in Thor. It will be Lex Luthor in Superman. It will be Voldemort in Harry Potter. They have the king energy, but they've overcompensated it and become evil. The underdeveloped, in other words, you haven't stepped into your king energy, you're just weak. So when we look at Jay, the previous version of Jay was in this archetypal energy of just being weak. Instead of stepping into king energy, he stepped into tyrant energy. And we could actually feel it on the sales call. He just kept interrupting the prospect, kept talking over the top of him. It almost felt like bullying a little bit. The real one that you need to be in is this one in the middle, the king. Okay, let's look at another one, the magician. Magician in its normal energy, just magician, okay? The lower version is the denying innocent one. So it's like you just have, and so by magician, we're talking about like brain, like knowledge, information, wisdom, that type of category, okay? This is the type of person that would be like, oh, there's no such thing as spirituality. The denying innocent one. There's no such thing as spirituality, okay? The magician in its full archetype would believe in spirituality and use that spirituality to help people. The magician that has access to the spiritual powers and the spiritual laws that is overdeveloped becomes a manipulator. The type of person that can use that spiritual essence to control people. Okay? Let's look at another one. The lover. The underdeveloped one is the impotent lover. So they can't actually love because they're so detached from their ability to love. Then the overdeveloped one is they're addicted to that feeling of love, attention, neediness. The one in the middle is just the full lover. Okay? These ones, I'm not actually too familiar with those terms. I'll probably muddle them up the wrong way around. But anyway, the warrior, the perfectly developed warrior, can go and fight wars. The masochist, if I've got this right, is the one that they like fighting the war for their own defeat. Like to kill themselves. No, actually, I think that's the other way around. Let me just get that right. Masochist. Oh, yeah, that was right. Yeah, so they actually get pleasure from fighting the wars for their own defeat, weirdly enough. The sadist is the one that they like fighting the wars that need to be fought for the sake of death, for killing people. They like just burning people for the sake of burning people. Whereas the warrior that's in his correct essence knows that there are certain wars that need to be fought. But they don't over-exaggerate that to going and fucking, conquering everybody and becoming, Hannibal. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Great book for any of you guys to read. I haven't read it from the perspective of a woman because I'm not one. I would assume that the archetypes and the way that they work could still be useful for you to read as a female, but I'm not entirely sure. But definitely worth picking up and skimming it through and seeing if you resonate with it. Okay? So anyway, that was the point of like, you have your different energy archetypes. You need to be in the middle as opposed to too far in the negative polarity or too far in the positive polarity. Okay? All right. Does that make sense, folks? Awesome. All right. On that note, let's go through these questions and then we'll wrap up. Dr. Chloe, what's up?
Thanks for today's another great training. I have a question about the offer that I'm on. We do have a guarantee. So the guarantee is basically big picture. If someone like does their best during the protocol, but they don't experience the results that they came to us to get, say they need some extra time for reducing inflammation, we can extend the protocol for 2 extra months, and we include 2 additional months of supplements, no extra cost to them. And I'm wondering, when would you mention that guarantee? I've heard from sales managers mention it when you drop the price or keep it in your pocket just in case you need to use it.
keep it in your pocket. If they don't ask about it and they don't already know about it, don't bring it up.
Okay. The second question I have is in regards to, we have a downsell for this offer. Main offer is 8,500, downsell is 1,790. And from our training, we try to go through like everything we can to make sure it's just a finance issue, because it's a very different type of offer. One-on-one protocol versus like a DIY 12-month membership. And honestly, for some people that we talk to, like you've seen the calls, I wouldn't even offer the downsell because it wouldn't be, in my opinion, ethical. But I've got 2 follow-ups today with people who were just like, I don't have the resources, the credit, etc., to use for the one-on-one. I mentioned that we do have a non-one-on-one offer. How would you go about follow-ups or even navigating that downsell? Let me know if you need more context with that.
No. So if anyone's in the manager owner level, let me know on this. I think downsells is something that works on at the manager level. Is that right, Ben? Has he mentioned that?
Not really. A little.
Not in the pricing rollout.
Yeah, he does. He talks about it. Yeah, and how to charge more.
Yeah. So if you wanted to learn how would roll that out, it's in the manager level. There's a training on how we do the whole pricing, how we do incentive-based pricing, and the way that the downsell is rolled out has to connect into the way you do the incentive pricing. The whole thing is like, it's a whole system of like, you couldn't do I couldn't do the downsell the way that I learned it from if I didn't also have the incentive-based pricing first. It's like a whole sequence. So if you wanted to do the downsell the way we do it, then you'd have to join the manager level at some point.
For sure. Definitely want to at some point, more for my offer than this offer, but thanks for that.
You're very welcome. Yeah, I mean, if you joined it for one offer, your offer, for example, pretty sure you could just reword it for any other offers that you're selling on. So you wouldn't need to do it twice. You wouldn't need to join the manager level twice. You would write it. I think there's even people that are in the manager level where they've had 2 offers and UM's written 2 versions for them. So if you joined, you could get 2 versions of it done.
Cool.
For both offers. Cool.
Thank you. That's helpful.
You're very
welcome. That's it for now.
All right. Ben, questions?
So I was thinking of the graph with the truth above and below. And one thing that you mentioned in Cabo was deleting their rationalizations. I'm assuming that's to get them above the line so that they're in truth. And I find that I still have difficulties even identifying them, but I was wondering if you could maybe do a quick training on how to do that. Like deleting the rationalization.
Oh, how to delete?
Well, yeah, I guess identifying first and then deleting them.
So a training on what? When you say identifying, as in like, what are you looking for in regards to a training?
You're very good at like, oh, that's like a rationalization. Even from my role play, you're like, well, no, the rationalization was this, and I didn't even see that. So maybe like the way that you spot them or think about them.
Rationalization just means that someone is choosing to believe something that is limiting them. Someone is choosing to believe something that is limiting them. I'll give you a dating example. I've used it many times. Oh, I can't find women in New York City because New York City doesn't have the women I want. Well, if you choose to believe that, it's just going to limit you. Here's another one. $15,000 a month is a lot of money. That's a belief that limits you. A rationalization is any choice of belief that limits you. Money is hard to come by. That's a fucking rationalization. I worked way fucking harder and hated my life when I was poor. Worked fucking 60, 70 hours a week to make $2,000 a month. Manual laboring, late nights working as security, hated my fucking life. So that's not true.
So then as far as like deleting them or breaking them without just telling them, well, that's wrong. It's just like, let's say a common one in my offer is like, well, part of the switch they have to make is thinking about how they think about value. Like these videographers, they think that, oh, if I have better gear or if I do better edits or do more videos, that's value to a business, which we know it's not. It's like, well, it's in our model, it's helping them make more money through marketing and ads. Does that make sense?
I wasn't listening. I was typing. Say it again, please.
Well, yeah, I like a lot of the videographers that I sell to. They think that the value is like either having a better camera or doing more content or doing it faster turnarounds. But our whole thing is like, well, if you do ads and content, the value to a business is making them more money, right? So like, I guess
what's the question? How do you get them to realize that rationalization?
Yeah.
Okay. So the key is you just point out what they've said and question them on it. The step to deleting rationalizations is you don't actually do anything. You don't delete the rationalization. That's probably bad wording I used in Carbo, because it's like to remove bad feelings with the book Letting Go. You don't remove the bad feeling. You feel the bad feeling and you sit in the bad feeling and you stay there and you accept it, and then it disappears. So how do you remove or how do you delete a rationalization? You accept the thing that you're saying. And then when you accept it, you're like, well, that's fucking stupid. So in your example, okay, got it. So you believe, based on what you just said there, Ben, that the way to make more money as a videographer is a better camera.
Yeah.
Yes. Cool. So where was that belief when you booked in this call, given that we don't sell cameras?
Okay. Got it.
I'm just going to agree with what you said and say, cool, if that's what you believe, then validate that for me. I'm asking you to validate your stupidity rather than try and tell you, well, you're a fucking idiot. You're almost saying like, okay, I'm going to believe what you say. Now prove it. And then they're like,
okay.
And then that's how the rationalization disappears, which is the same as the call before. Okay, got it. So you believe that you are worth more than $50,000. Yes. Why don't you pay yourself that?
I see now. Okay. Yeah, that's super helpful.
Because I can't pay myself that. Why can't you pay yourself what you believe you deserve? You see, I'm not actually doing anything. I'm just like questioning what you said you believe. So then it's almost like I'm going to believe with full force that what you said is actually true, because if it is true, then I'm going to ask you questions that would invalidate it, and you're going to have a great answer for every one of my questions. The reality is you have shit answers for it because your actual belief doesn't have solid ground. But if it did, then you would have great answers for all of my questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. Final question then from Den. What's up?
Hello, guys. First of all, it's just my first time here, and I'm super excited to be here and super grateful. Sorry for the lighting. I just got no electricity. That's the realities of the country that I'm in, but that's fine. My question is, first of all, it's a lot of lessons. I literally just wrote down the 2 pages. It's super a lot of value, and it's kind of like a gulp of fresh air, because on my offer we don't really use like a scriptless selling, and those concepts, they are very like foreign for them. So it's like being in this kind of space where every point is like just hits really deeply and kind of is on the same page in a sense, and a lot of new things. It's very great. But my question is, you mentioned that there was like this line of truth when people are really seeing the truth, and they sometimes go above and beyond that, below that. My question is, like, what would you say are the main reasons, or maybe like the things that would do wrong on the sales call that cause them to go like below that line?
Number one would be your state. So if you're in a bad state, but you're expecting your prospect to face reality, you can't expect your prospect to face reality if you yourself haven't faced the reality that you're not even in a good state. If you choose to be in a bad state, you'll pull that prospect into a bad state as well. And one of those things in a bad state is they're not going to be honest. They're not going to be able to see the truth. I did this training in Carbo, which is the recent UCM live event in person that we just did 2 weeks ago. And what I was explaining in that event was you can't even distinguish truth from falsehood if you're in a state that is a low state. You can't even distinguish between the two. So you have to be in a good state to be able to distinguish the two. And your prospect being in the presence of you being in a bad state means that they're not going to be able to distinguish those two. It's part of what leadership is. You step into a better state and you bring people into your
better energy state, and they start seeing things in ways that they've never seen them before.
So would you say it's like your level of where you are at that scale of truth, which kind of makes them to step in the same level? And if you're below, then
And that's what
okay,
leadership is.
makes sense.
You bring a
And
different energy and a different presence, and then people step into that different energy and presence. And that's why people can have instant transformations and instant light bulb moments in different environments, in different presences of different people. Because that environment, a physical environment or a physical human being, has a different energy signature. And that energy signature is what attracts your thoughts. Your thoughts don't just come from in here. It's not where your thoughts come from. You have an energy signature, which is like a radio station signal. Let's say the signal is 100 frequency, 100 FM. And your state will determine that frequency on the radio station. And when you have your frequency on the radio station, it connects to the signal of whatever music is being played at 100 FM. When you change your state, you change the signal and you attract in different music. Those music is like your thoughts. And so when you change your environment or when you get around someone different, you change your state, which changes your frequency on the radio station, and you'll start thinking different thoughts. You'll start seeing things from different perspectives. And so you're facilitating that for your prospects on the sales call. Does that make sense?
makes sense. Yeah, thank you. And another question is also, you mentioned this understanding that you are worth what you're making, and having that belief and that understanding is a good thing. So how would you explain to the prospect that this is important to have that kind of understanding and that belief, meaning like, why is this important? Because like why it serves them, like why is it important to have that belief rather than the belief that you're worth more when you're making less?
Because it's not the truth. If they actually were worth more money, would they be earning more money? Yes. The lack of truth can't serve them. Accepting that they're earning the amount of money that they deserve to be making is the stepping stone for them to then become the next level version of themselves, which would then be earning more money. Whereas if they're like, no, I'm earning X amount of money, but it's nothing to do with my worth. Well, then how are we going to fix that? It's like the key thing with personal development is to realize everything's your fault. Because while that's frustrating, it means you have ownership over everything. You can change your situation. If your reality is not your fault, then what control do you have? You have no control.
Yeah, makes sense. You know, I just wanted to say that you're like a Wikipedia, like whatever the question is asked, like immediately the answer. But I don't think that would be a compliment given the fact of the Wikipedia information.
I appreciate it.
It's yeah. Thank you very much for the answers.
You're very welcome. All right, folks, that's us for today. I'll see y'all on the Friday training in a couple of days, and I'll see you in the mastermind between now and then. Have a good rest of your day, folks. Later.
Thank you.
You're welcome, guys. Bye. All right, so that was 213 minutes of self-actualized sales training so that you can earn $100,000 a month in commissions in 2026. You saw the call reviews, you saw the mentorship, you felt and experienced the community and the environment that is responsible for taking 5 salespeople to all earning over $100,000 a month in commissions within 17 months or less. The question is, are you going to keep sitting on the outside, or are you going to actually get on the inside, get access to the community, the direct mentorship, and being around other unicorn closers who want to learn a way of selling that combines sales with self-actualizing, using sales as a vehicle for personal development, becoming the best version of yourself by doing internal mastery, learning spirituality, and truly transforming who you are as a person. If you know you're ready and you want to get on the inside and you want to be able to earn $100,000 a month in commissions, you know what you need to do. Click the link below this video, join the mastermind, and we will see you on the inside.